All right, what's up, everybody, and welcome to our brand new podcast. We're going to be covering all things pro wrestling. My name is James Hockenjos, and in his usual chair from our flagship show, Parlez-Vous, we got Anthony Allicino. And you know him from his guest spot on the Rewind. We discussed Jurassic Park. It's Christopher Big Whitey Johanson, encyclopedia on all things pro wrestling.
What's up?
So you're the oldest here. You're the chief, so to speak.
Veteran.
So you want to start us off on your journey and love for pro wrestling and how it all started for you?
Sure. So I've been actively watching professional wrestling for, I would want to say 31 years since 1990. The first event I ever watched, like a full event that I sat down, watched, and remembered was WrestleMania 6, main event, Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, title for title. My dad took me to the video store. He said, pick out a wrestling one. And that box was like, the box cover was Mountaintops, and it was Hulk with the title. He was the WWF champion. It was Warrior with the Intercontinental title. And I sat down and watched the pay-per-view from its entirety and was like in love from that moment on. I had seen some wrestling before that. My dad would show me like George the Animal Steel eating turnbuckles. I'd see, Hulk Hogan coming out ripping his shirt off. But the first event I remember sitting down and watching was WrestleMania 6. And then from there on, we went on to Summerslam 90, Survivor Series 90, and so on and so forth. And I haven't missed a WrestleMania or a Royal Rumble since.
Was your dad big into wrestling too?
Well, my great grandfather was really into like Florida Championship Wrestling with like Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes, and even before that. But that's kind of where my dad came into wrestling. He was really big into Dusty Rhodes, Ric Flair, the NWA title. So my dad was into it because he used to watch it with his grandfather, and then he introduced it to me, and then it was something that we had together. So
right. Yeah, that's awesome.
Which is how most people get it. It's like a familial bond. It's like the reason you're a Mets fan, the reason you're both Mets fans, the reason I'm a Jets
exactly.
fan.
It gets passed, from my, my perspective, or my experience, I should say. It's always been passed down from generation to generation because it's,
See, it's amazing because I was born in 93, right? So he's been watching before I was even born, right? And I didn't have that family. Like nobody in my family watched wrestling. It was much more of a, I guess it was found through school and through friends at school, and it just ended up happening like that. And I remember, my earliest memories are like the Hardy Boys. Like that's what I remember. Like, or I could really stick to it and be like, okay, these guys are who I want to be. This is what I want to emulate. You know what I mean? Like that's what I remember. I don't know about you.
Yeah, Young Hardys, Rock Austin. And again, not a familial thing. I got it. Jack, our producer from Parlez-Vous, is in the room with us. He is 19, youngin'. I got an older brother, 2 years older than me, and we would go at it. You only got a sister.
I only have a sister.
Me and fucking Phil would go at it nonstop all the time. And my dad didn't want us watching the Stone Cold Stunner. And
of
then,
course, yeah.
So, like, my dad was not really encouraging of it because he didn't want us fighting and trying it on each other. But eventually, school, your friends. But yeah,
these guys were rock stars back then. It was viewed differently than it is now. These guys were like idols to people. You know what I mean? At what age would you say you stopped watching and you started like more than watching, becoming enamored with it and like wanting to know the history of pro wrestling? And because I'm sure you know things before you started watching now, right? You've looked up, the history and all that. Like, at what point were you like, all right, this is something that I'm really into?
Immediately, like when I sat down and watched that WrestleMania, I felt
you were hooked then.
And I grew up in the video store generation, so every Friday night we were in the video store.
Yeah.
And for a good 2 years, I basically caught up on everything because I wanted to see everything. I wanted to know all the storylines. So one of the first ones I rented after WrestleMania 6 was WrestleMania 3, and that was Hulk and Andre because the box cover was Hulk and Andre facing off, and I'm like, oh, I got to see this. And then we would just go back literally on a weekly basis, and I would just go, because they would have these posters that would be hung up at different various places to promote the shows. So the box cover of the VHS would be those posters. So I would literally just go to the video store and just pick it out. And like I said, I wanted to know everything more and more, and as much as I can get about wrestling from like 90 to like 93. I was like deeply, deeply into it.
And so I'm going to jump in here because I know this. We've discussed this ad nauseum. I don't think Anthony knows this. His dad was a hot box guy back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
So they had the hot box. So they got every pay-per-view
on that little thing.
Yeah, on that little hot box, illegally.
Yeah, you used to plug it
Yeah,
into your cable
yeah.
box. There was a code you punched in, and you basically had you had all the pay-per-view channels for 4 hours, whatever it was. So we literally saw that's back when pay-per-views were quarterly. WCW would have
Right.
like WCW would have maybe 3 or 4 pay-per-views. WWE had the big 4. They had WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Survivor Series, and the Royal Rumble.
Well, and King of the Ring at that point.
Well, King of the
Big
Ring,
Five.
King of the Ring came out in '93. So I'm talking. This is like 90 to like 93. You had only the 4 pay-per-views. They would have sometimes they'd have specials.
What do you think about the watered down pay-per-views now? How there's so many?
The only company that's doing pay-per-views right now is AEW.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else is on the streaming service, and AEW eventually will go to a streaming service.
Right.
So what Vince did with the network is he eliminated the pay-per-view because now he's got you monthly. He's got you monthly, but he's got way more because he's going to get for $10. You're going to be able to see every pay-per-view of the year, $10 a month. Back in the day, it was because they had WWF went from the big 4, and then they had King of the Ring, but then they would do In Your Houses, which In Your Houses were 2-hour pay-per-views. So it's basically just like a pay-per-view special. And it was literally In Your House 1, 2, 3, 4, and then they started doing like In Your House Mind Games, In Your House Beware of Dog, In Your House.
How much did those cost?
Those were $19.99, and then the big 4 were $29.99.
Those were the ones I compared to what they're doing, what Tony Khan's doing with the special Dynamites and the special TNT show.
Exactly.
Like now they're doing that Saturday show,
right?
In a couple, and it's
that's
not even called Dynamite, I don't think, right? Is it?
The Saturday show?
The next Saturday show they're doing?
Like the Battle of the Belts or whatever.
Battle of the Belts,
something like that, yeah. So, but that's more like Clash of the Champions because it's on free TV. So Clash of the Champions was a WCW. It was like a quarterly, and it was a bigger show than what like the WCW Saturday night would be. So it was like this like a 2-hour special. It was Clash of the Champions, I believe, is where Sting won his first title against Flair, if I'm not mistaken. Or it might have been the Great American Bash. I can't remember which one it was. But there was big matches on Clash of the Champions. So like you'd have squash matches like on regular free TV, but then on Clash of the Champions you'd get the pay-per-view style matches, but it'd be a 2-hour TV special with commercials. So In Your House was a pay-per-view. You paid the $20 and it was a 2-hour pay-per-view. Clash of the Champions is more like
free,
like what AEW now is doing with like they do Winter is Coming, AEW Dynamite Winter is Coming, or
Grand Slam.
Mm-hmm. What's the Fighter Fest? You know what I mean?
Well, Fighter Fest is a pay-per-view. They might have not did it as a pay-per-view this past year.
It
started as a pay-per-view.
Oh, okay.
The first time they did Fighter Fest was definitely a pay-per-view. I think this most recent year they did it on TV over 2 weeks.
Two Dynamites, right?
Yeah.
Basically like in the time slot of 2 Dynamites. Yeah, so it's that's cool, and I like the AEW, the Big 4. They have Full Gear and All Out and Double or Nothing, and that's awesome because it's like those shows are now starting to feel like they're big shows.
Yeah, I want that big feel vibe. You know what I mean? I do want that. I don't know. I tend to think that every 3 weeks now they're running not a pay-per-view WWE, but they're running a.
It's like
they're pay-per-view events.
Pay-per-view events, just not on pay-per-view. Whatever,
But they're like Raw. It's like Raw or SmackDown. It's basically you're watching what you could watch on Raw, like just less promos.
But watered down.
Yeah,
watered down.
Yeah,
but
I mean, the WWE has become such a formulaic platform of wrestling where it's like SmackDown every Friday night. Roman's going to come out and cut a 20-minute promo with Paul Heyman, and the Usos are going to be there. They're going to get their little quibs in.
Mm-hmm.
And then it leads to, in a 3-week program with a wrestler that he's going to squash at a pay-per-view.
I think it's incredibly structured.
Yeah.
But I do think, with that being said, I do think Reigns is good for WWE right now. What they're doing at Reigns is a good thing.
Oh, it's great. But the problem is you have so much talent. WWE arguably has as much, if not more talent than AEW does right now. You could argue that. But what they're doing with that talent, like what AEW is doing with their talent compared to what WWE is doing with their talent, it's two completely different.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I agree.
Like the WWE has non-wrestling people writing the storylines. Like
that's half the problem.
Back in the day, it was Vince, Bruce Pritchard, and Pat Patterson. And Pat Patterson would put the matches together, so he would sit down with, The Rock and Austin and say, this is what we're going to do, guys. We're going to start the match this way. We're going to go from this move to this move to this move, and then we're going to hit the finish. And Austin would go, stunner, middle of the ring? Yes, done. Now there's 15 guys in a room going, okay, so we're going to say this, and then we're going to say that, and we're going to say this. And then there's not really a lot of wrestling, and a lot of what they call Gaga. I don't know if you guys are familiar with what Gaga is. That's like it's like when you're getting the manager involved or you're getting the tag team partner involved and
nonsense.
Nonsense, exactly.
And it's like they, over all those the backstage promos, like you've heard people, especially people who've been fired recently, like I'm pretty sure CJ Perry, Lana,
Yeah.
said something about it. Like those little 30-second promos, they've been there for like 6 hours to get those 30-second backstage interviews. Like it's too much.
Yeah. It's overproduced is what it is.
It's 100% overproduced.
Overproduced.
And people realize it. They see that. And to me, it's...
Like Vince's style is like, let's get everybody in a room. Let's figure out what we're going to do tonight. Then they all leave the room. 10 minutes later, they're running around with a new sheet. This is what we're doing now, guys. Then they're getting to the gorilla position. This is what we're doing now, guys. And
that's too much on...
Have you ever heard Freddie Prinze Jr. talk about his time there?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
He was so interesting. I heard him talk about it at nauseum. I listened to him do Jeff Dye's podcast. It was an old show, but I just was bored like 2 weeks ago. Listened to it. He did like a good 30 minutes on his time working as like a writer. Very interesting.
Yeah, it's too much.
He basically was the only one there who would defy Vince because like he was there because he loved the product, not because he needed the money. So he's like, I don't give a fuck if I get fired on day one.
Right. Well, that's why it's like there's like a revolving door at WWE. Like people are in and then they're out.
He's probably very responsible for a lot of what the Miz does on the stick.
Freddie Prinze.
Yes.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Freddie Prinze took over promo classes when he was there.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah. So, yeah, right along with my deal with my dad not really being a fan of pay-per-view, no chance. No chance was pay-per-view happening. There's one specific event, we'll get to it. The first event where I was like, here's the money, we're doing it. We'll get to it later on. But there was a point.
It's probably the same event that I had in my life.
We'll see. Do you guys want to get right into it?
Yeah, we can get right into it.
So we're starting with events. Go from 5 to 1. Allicino, why don't you go first?
So going 5 to 1, it's going to be a little tough, but I'm going to go 5.
Oh, I forgot yours were no particular order.
It's fine.
Right?
I can do it. I can do it quick. Royal Rumble 2008. Cena returns at MSG.
Great pay-per-view. That was Michaels Taker 1 and 2, right?
Yes. I have actually the whole card up, but I mean, if you know it, then
that was
you know
Hardy Edge for the title.
Yeah, so
Matt
on this one we have
Jeff to set up their Mania match.
Orton, Hardy for the WWE Championship.
I thought it was Edge, no?
No, JBL, Jericho.
Yep.
Oh, right.
Flair versus MVP for the United States Championship.
Oh, right. Yep.
And then Cena won, obviously coming in at 30. And I remember that. I can picture it still, like clear as day. The 30, the coming out. There wasn't a big entrance, like a big,
there's no runway in the Garden.
It's
not set up well for pro wrestling events.
No.
One bit.
20 they had. I went to WrestleMania 20, and that was the longest entrance ramp they've ever had, and it was still like a Raw.
Yeah, like
which is
22 feet.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Short, yeah.
So do you want me to keep going down, or
no? Let's go one by one. Why do you want to? I know you got more than 5, so you could.
Well, I have 9 events in total, so I'll just.
So going 9 through 5, real quick.
The quick 9 through 5. I got Royal Rumble 1997. That's Stone Cold's coming out party. Well, not his coming out party, but Brett had just come back. He threw Brett out. Refs didn't see Brett Brett threw him out. Refs didn't see it somehow. He got back in the ring, stunned Brett, threw him out of the ring. Awesome. Just great pay-per-view. That was Michaels Psycho Sid was the main event. Just a really good. It was in a stadium show at San Antonio. Just a really good show. I got next one up. I got AEW Double or Nothing 2019. Not a great show. Not a great card. That was just the first pay-per-view AEW had. I just really enjoyed watching that show. It was like very exciting. It was new. They weren't on TV yet.
That was the first Double or Nothing.
The first Double or Nothing.
Super significant. And I remember
I thought about that, but it didn't make my list because super significant, but not the best event.
Like I said, I just sitting there seeing people I haven't seen wrestle before. Just it was new. It was exciting.
I remember.
It was fresh.
I remember texting you, and I was like, "Hey, the production level is a little lacking, but they'll figure it out. This is a cool product,
right?
Like
exactly.
They had it there. You saw it.
One of the reasons I think it wouldn't really make my list is because what matters with pro wrestling is the storylines, the characters. You're invested. We're seeing largely a bunch of people we have no invest. Like the most emotional part of that night is Dean coming out at the end.
I was
for me.
For me, it was when Cody came out and he wrestled Dustin, and they had that
very good.
Mm-hmm.
That was a phenomenal match. I mean, I definitely I almost made my top. It was in my top matches, kind of on the outskirts because it just was such a good match. Like the emotion of it, everything would survive, surrounding the Dream, Dusty.
Mhm.
So it's just, it was big deal. Next one up, I got SummerSlam 1990, the height of my little kid fandom. Main event was Hogan versus Earthquake. And they had this angle where Earthquake put Hogan in the hospital, and they did this whole WWE did this like backhanded promotion where they got your address by you send a letter to Hulk, and we're going to send you like a Hulk headband. So all these kids, like millions of kids, wrote letters to Hulk Hogan, get better, get better, get better, and then they got everybody's address and started sending out catalogs. Like just kind of a funny story.
Wow.
Main event, actually not. That wasn't the main event. That was the undercard. The main event was Warrior Rick Rude in the cage, which was just a fun match.
Wow.
Great rivalry. Just again,
Genius level marketing by VKM.
Oh yeah, just super smart. And then WrestleMania 6, just because like I discussed before, first show I remember watching, just a very key pay-per-view. But my number 5 and my top 5 is Halloween Havoc 1997 WCW. Pay-per-view starts off Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero. If you haven't seen it, you gotta go watch this match. Unbelievable. Like before you watch, because like now AEW everything's a car crash. This match was a car crash with two of the best that ever did it.
Before car crashes.
Mysterio came out in this like purple. I'm sure you guys have seen it. It's like a all purple outfit. He was playing. It was because he's like a big comic book guy. So he's
I'm familiar with
he was the Phantom,
Mm-hmm.
and him and Eddie just went out, and it was a classic, just an absolute classic. Also at that show was Ddp Macho Man, which was the feud of the year that year to me. Just Ddp coming into his own. Here's like this 36-year-old rookie going against one of the greatest of all time, and the Macho Man just had like a barn burner of a match. And then the main event, it was called Age in the Cage because it was Roddy Piper and Hulk Hogan in a cage match, but Sting got involved because it was like when they were going into the, Sting was like really heavy into the Crow character, and it was leading into Hogan and Sting at Starrcade. So like that pay-per-view was just a big pay-per-view. There's other good matches on the undercard. I can't remember what they were. I mean, Benoit was definitely on the card. Malenko was on the card. Jericho. The Big Show, Kevin Nash, there's monster WCW roster. Just great show. So that's my number 5.
All right, so my number 5, I have like 2 separate events in here. The first one is AW Grand Slam.
The most recent?
The Grand Slam, the one we went to.
Oh, okay.
So I feel Grand Slam. Right. So I feel like part of the reason I had to give it a slash was I feel like it's partially a cop out because it's 2 shows. Because we were there, the 3 of us in New York.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
we got ran.
Awesome show.
Awesome show. Awesome experience. It really not reinvested in my love because I haven't lost it recently. The last time I lost my love for wrestling was probably like 2011. But it like really I felt great about pro wrestling again that night. It's just a great example of when it's done right, there's nothing better in entertainment. When it's done bad, it's bad. But when it's done right, there's nothing better in entertainment than pro wrestling. The other one is going to be one of the TNA Big 3. Lockdown, if you're unfamiliar, every match was on the whole card was inside 6 sides of steel. So when TNA had the 6-sided ring, every match inside the steel cage. Lockdown 2005, the inaugural Lockdown match. The other 2 in their Big 3 were Bound for Glory and Slammiversary. Lockdown.
What year is this?
This is 05.
05.
This is the first Lockdown.
So pre-Angle.
I don't think Angle was there yet.
Yeah, pre-Angle.
Lockdown credited with creating 2 very big matches for TNA. It's the Escape match. Are you familiar?
Yeah.
Escape match. Escape match starts with anywhere from 4 to 8 competitors. Elimination style, 1 fall until there's 2 guys left, and then first guy out of the cage wins. Usually held for the X Division Championship. The other one is the Lethal Lockdown. It's 2 teams, 3 to 5. I think it's 3 to 5 competitors, 2 teams. They start 1-on-1. They do war game style. So it's 5 minutes, then one guy comes in, then every 2 minutes another person comes in until it's even. When the last guy gets in, they drop the cage, the top on the cage with weapons all on it. First pinfall wins.
Awesome.
So
awesome.
Sick match.
Car crashes.
So you want to talk about car crashes?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You want to talk about car crashes before they were car crashes? This entire card, someone bled on every match.
Yeah.
They threw fireballs. I don't have the whole card. It's a lot of names you guys wouldn't know. Every match was crazy, though.
Oh, you'd
But
be surprised. I know.
You had Hardy versus Raven in a tables match inside the steel cage.
Nice.
They broke about 7 tables. before Hardy ultimately had Raven on top of the 8 stack, went on top of the steel cage, leg drop, put him through it.
Nice.
You had AJ Styles versus Abyss in a
Mhm.
6 sides of steel match for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. Styles sunset flip powerbomb from the outside of the top of the cage to the ground onto Tax after a Styles clash through Tax to take the title off of Abyss.
Abyss loved his tax.
Love the bag of 1,000 tax, man.
Loved his tax, that guy.
And then in the main event, in the Lethal Lockdown match, we had Team Nash, which was Diamond Dallas Page, Sean Waltman, and someone to be announced because Nash was hurt or something. It was Road Dogg
Oh, nice.
under the name BG James
Yep. The James Gang.
versus Team Jeff Jarrett, which was Jeff Jarrett, Monty Brown, if
Alpha
you
male.
remember. Also Marcus Corvon on ECW and WWE for a little bit, the second
2
ECW.
months or something like that. Right?
Yeah, short run.
Super short run.
And Billy Gunn under the name The Outlaw in the Lethal Lockdown match. I'm pretty sure Team Nash wins this match.
Yeah.
So that's my 5. That's my number 5.
Number 5.
All right, number 4. I'm gonna venture a guess to say I'm the only one that has something on the list that's not a pay-per-view. Okay.
Yeah. Grand Slam, but
March 26th, 2001, Raw. Shane buys WCW.
wow.
Classic show.
I mean, I don't really know the matches. I just know that segment. And for me, like, that was something that was like, oh, okay. It went from this is kind of now there's no competition. It's diluted. It's all just everybody thrown in together. And they somehow made it so it was like, oh, wow, this is like, oh, I got to sit up in my seat. This is reinvented now. This is a new rivalry. We're going to see new faces and they're going to be battling each other. I just think that segment where was he in
they were in
Florida?
Daytona Beach.
Right. As good as it gets. That's as good as it gets. That's why it's 4 on my list.
The thing about that show that I remember most of all, I watched it live and I was watching Nitro. I wasn't even watching Raw because it was the last Nitro. And flipping back and forth from both channels, and it was like you were seeing the same thing on both. It was insane because we had, when I was in high school, we used to have Monday night parties because literally it would be Raw. Our Nitro came on at 8, Raw started at 9, and ECW came on at 11. So we had to have like 5 hours of wrestling. It was incredible. You know what I mean? And you would flip back and forth. Oh, this match sucks. Let me put it on the other channel or whatever. You know, this is a boring segment. Let me put. So you had wrestling all night. So to be able to turn from one channel to the other and see, like, just hitting the previous button back and forth,
and just seeing the same exact segment over,
right.
like
it was
that's
just like different It was
yeah.
insane.
That's why I had to give it some credit it deserved.
What sucks is that should have been the best time in history of wrestling, but Turner had all the big name contracts. So Sting, Hogan, Nash, Hall, DDP, Steiner, Flair, all these WCW guys stayed home and wouldn't go to. Vince said, "End your contract, come over." The only one who did it was Booker T.
Right, and it worked out for him.
And Booker T was the champ at the time, so he said, "I'm not getting off T." He's like, "You're gonna kill." All those guys are established, and he was still kind of on the come up. And he said, "No, Vince, I'll drop my contract. I'll come wrestle for you." Went to wrestle for Vince for half what he was making at WCW. Made more money with merchandise and everything else.
Oh yeah,
but his guaranteed money was way more with Turner, which was like, it was just crazy.
Never became a 6th time.
Nope.
Never got one. Never got one with
Well,
Vince.
he got
all 5. Yeah, but all 5 of those were with WCW, weren't they?
Yeah, but then he got when he was King Booker, he had the strap. He had the WCW strap.
Oh, he got it again, so he
Yeah.
was a 6th time.
Yep.
Oh, I didn't.
Him and Cena were.
I
feuding.
forgot about that.
Or no, not him and Cena, him and Batista. So he was like King Booker with Charmel, and then Batista. And
Right, I remember one of the Raws in the Garden when he was King Booker. Brian was at. Brian.
Oh, really?
Brian, Joey, Jesse Dorn. Yeah, a few of our friends were there. That was like my parents weren't. The tickets for that Raw, it was someone's birthday. It was one of their birthdays. It's like over 100. They were like, in the blue seats in the Garden. It was like $100 a seat.
Yeah.
My dad wasn't paying for me to go there, dude.
WWE's always been expensive. Live
Yeah.
shows always never not expensive.
They are a treat though. Like I've we went to the Royal Rumble. We haven't done a WrestleMania.
Production is like you can't beat WWE's production.
It's
like,
fantastic.
AEW for Grand Slam was awesome, but still WWE.
The only bad thing about Grand Slam, and I don't want to get too off topic, but was the venue wasn't ready.
Yeah, Arthur Ashe wasn't prepared.
No.
Like, you know what I mean?
But that's like the concessions, like you're talking about.
Yeah, just the overall. I don't think they thought that it was going to pack out like that, and I don't know. I don't think they were ready for that.
Like I was ready to buy T-shirts and stuff, and like just couldn't even get close.
Couldn't even fathom that. That wasn't even an option.
Like, I'm not waiting through 3 matches to get a fucking.
Right,
T-shirt.
exactly.
Yeah, I didn't come here to buy a T-shirt. I could do that on the Pro Wrestling Tees app.
Right.
Yeah. So 4.
Me 4. We're gonna go Bash at the Beach 1996, the infamous Hogan heel turn. Just jaw dropping. Like 1996, you're used to the red and yellow coming out, saving the day. So the hype, the build up to that, you had Scott Hall coming through the crowd on Nitro. This is like in late spring, so May. Bash at the Beach was in July. Scott Hall comes through. This is Razor Ramon, from WWF TV. Now just walking through the crowd, comes in the ring. Hey yo, and it's just like you're like, what
is going on?
And then the next week, Diesel comes out, Kevin Nash, and like he's like, the measuring stick just got higher around here, and you're just like, what is happening right now? They're not saying who they are, they're not saying why they're there. Get to Great American Bash pay-per-view. Eric Bischoff comes out to do an interview with the two guys. Kevin Nash throws Eric Bischoff through a table. So now that sets up the match at Bash at the Beach. WCW is going to pick 3 guys. These guys are going to have a mystery partner. So the main event is Sting, Lex Luger, Macho Man Randy Savage for WCW, and the Outsiders, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash with a mystery partner. Luger gets knocked out at the beginning of the match. Here comes, they take Luger out, so now it's 2-on-2, Sting and Savage versus Hall and Nash. There's like a bunch of schmaz going on. Everybody's down, laid out. All of a sudden, here comes Hogan. And as a lifelong wrestling fan, you're going, oh my God, here he comes. We're going to see the shirt ripped off.
I'm going to save the day.
Couple boots, leg drop. Hogan gets in the ring, pushes the referee out of the way, leg drops the Macho Man, and literally just like, I just was speechless, like legitimately speechless. And this was after, a whole pay-per-view that was okay. You had Benoit on the card, you had Guerrero on the card, a lot of talent, a lot of good, decent little matches. But the whole show was based on that main event. Who's the third guy? Who's the third guy? And like I said, when Hogan came out, you're like, he's not the third guy. It's Hogan. He's gonna drop some legs and
can't be the third guy.
Yeah. And just like, just sitting there with my mouth wide open, like, what just happened? And then couldn't wait to get home from school. I remember eating dinner, just watching the clock, waiting to see Nitro the next night. And again, the pay-per-view was like an okay pay-per-view, but that moment was just...
For what it did.
There'll never be another moment in the history of wrestling like that.
Yeah.
Because, now with the internet and there's no... Like, everybody knew...
There's no kayfabe anymore.
No. Everybody knew CM Punk was going to be at Chicago. He still got the pop.
That was by design, though. When Tony Khan wants to keep something close to the chest, he does.
Right.
They kept Adam Cole pretty close to the chest.
Right.
They kept... Moxley pretty close.
You knew that these guys were coming though. Like you knew Moxley was going. You didn't know that Daniel Bryan and Adam Cole on the same night, but you knew that they were. Like even when Punk got there, he's like, oh, they're going yes. He's like, you're gonna have to wait.
You might have to wait for that.
Yeah. So, but this was just like I said,
as a surprise as you could get probably.
And like the whole pay-per-view, you were like you didn't really care about the undercard. Like you got the pay-per-view to see the main event.
Just waiting for that main event.
And like the whole even the commentary throughout is who's the third guy? Who's the third guy? And like what is WCW gonna do? And Bobby Heenan on commentary going, bring everybody out. Let's just kick their asses. Let's just bring everybody out. And like because like the feeling was like, who are these guys? Like, why don't we just, and it was just, nothing, that time period in wrestling is to me the best time. Not just pre-Attitude Era, like when the NWO got hot. It was just like nothing like it on TV.
Number 4.
Before I get into that, I just want a quick shout out. I should have did this in the last one with my TNA thing. I watched a bunch of matches from TNA 2005 over the last 2 days. Mike Tenay, great on the stick.
Color guy, phenomenal. Not play-by-play.
I can't remember if it was the AJ and Abyss match or if it was the Monsters Ball 2 that I watched, which shout out Monsters Ball 2. That's when Hardy does the 18-foot swanton he puts Abyss on a table, like on the ground below the stage, takes the ladder, climbs on top of like the structure that they come out through, the entrance ramp, does a swanton from the top of the structure, 18 feet in the air, across the stage through Abyss through the table.
Guy was different, dude.
Can't remember which match it was, but Mike Tenay, someone's covered with blood, and Abyss gets the tacks out, and Mike Tenay goes, "Get the children and get them out of the room for this, folks. Like, it's about to get bad. You don't want to have the kids seeing this." And I started cracking up almost in tears.
Excalibur and Tenay are very similar. Like, their styles of calling matches. Because Tenay was brought in WCW to do like the lucha matches because he knew the wrestlers, he knew the moves. Because like Excalibur is like an encyclopedia of wrestling moves. He knows every.
He knows every hold.
And that's what Tenay was. Tenay was that guy. So it's cool to see that now.
The similarities between them.
Yeah.
So my number 4 is AEW Full Gear 2021. Very solid show.
That was
top to bottom.
The most recent.
That was
one.
like 10 days ago.
Yeah, it was
14 days ago.
I missed it because it was my wife's birthday.
Hangman went over Kenny. The Bucks lose, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
to the
Jurassic Express. It was Christian and
right,
Jurassic
super
Express.
quick first Jurassic Express,
Yeah.
and then you had the Luchas retain over FTR.
Yeah.
Very solid show overall. He had Danielson on the card, right?
Yeah, was that who did Britt wrestle? Britt wrestled
Ty Conti.
oh right. I heard that was a very solid match.
Yeah. Britt's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Britt is very good.
When we get to it, we're gonna talk about it. But when we get to it, we gotta talk about Punk equating Britt Baker to MJF.
Did he?
He goes he said something to the effect of, you didn't realize it yet, but you've been passed as one of the pillars by Britt Baker.
Oh, Jesus. That's storytelling done right? That's booking done right with Hangman. How it came completely full circle after the time off. Like, that's how it's supposed to be done.
That's the way you build a star.
Yeah.
It's the way you build a star in wrestling.
Like,
It's what Tony Khan did.
And I think everybody saw it, like legitimate, older, not like, 13-year-olds. They wouldn't understand yet. But like I'm saying, us that watch it, and we go, wow, that's how you do it.
Yep.
That's how it's done. Like, and I think I think that whoever does beat Reigns, right, from this run should be catapulted into the next tier, don't you think? Like that should,
You mean Dwayne The Rock?
and that's
the problem.
And that's the problem.
That's the problem right there.
And
It's
that's
that
the
it's going to be
problem.
Dwayne.
Now, if I'm WWE, I put Reigns over The Rock,
You have to.
right?
You have to.
And then you say, no, this is the guy.
No, it should be Braun Breaker.
You and I were thinking the exact same thing. If you're going to take a guy and you're going to catapult him to the stratosphere, you have him go over Roman. Because I thought when I saw Taker lose to Lesnar, I'm like, well, now this Lesnar's the guy because he's got to be. You just made him this unbeatable force,
Mm-hmm.
and they didn't really handle it properly, but that's what they should have done. Nobody should have beaten Lesnar until Reigns beat Lesnar, because then Reigns could have been catapulted. But it's like Vince forgot how to book.
Well, hold on. So now, am I up to number 3?
Yeah, you're up.
Okay, WrestleMania 30, when it's perfect segue where Taker takes the loss, and
It's a good one.
Daniel Bryan becomes the man. He finishes, and that was a good storyline. That was they did Daniel
Phenomenal.
Bryan right. They
Phenomenal.
did. So that WrestleMania, I think there was such a like the emotion between those two matches where it was just like, are you joking me? Like, that didn't happen. That had to be fake. That had to be a mess up. Something had to, like, somebody missed the line. Somebody missed a kick out. Something happened,
Well, there wasn't. There's not a person in that stadium or a person. I mean, I fell asleep during the match.
I woke you up.
Yeah.
Like, part of me said, like when I was first watching it, I'm like, did the referee, like, did he mess up? Or like, being the referee, counting that 3. Are you like, Jesus, I can't believe I'm about to do this?
Well, that was another booking that went,
And do you feel like
worse than Big Show's career up until like right before
do you
they
feel
went
like
out there.
he was all right? And that's crazy to me. I feel like you
That
can't make a
booking
decision like
flip-flopped
that.
all day.
Well, here's the problem. Taker wrestled 3/4 of that match with a concussion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
had
know.
no
yeah.
idea
That's
what he
why I
was.
was confused because when he went to the hospital after, I was like, did they throw the X up? Is that what happened?
He went to the hospital after with Heyman
And
and
Vince.
Lesnar,
And Lesnar.
right?
And Vince.
Yeah.
Yeah, Vince left
Heyman,
the
Lesnar,
show.
and Vince were in the ambulance with him.
That's like on the network. They always show that clip of like, we need some help over here. That when he comes
Right.
through the curtain and collapses because he was so he had bell rolls wrong so.
I'm
terrible.
just like, to me, was there a better option than Lesnar? Wasn't Lesnar? Now I could be wrong. Wasn't Lesnar already a star? Wasn't he already like? He didn't need it.
Lesnar debuted the night after WrestleMania 2002. The most impressive debut I've ever seen in my life. There'll never be another debut like that. He came out
Right.
It was a triple threat. It was a triple threat. Maven. I don't know if you guys remember Maven.
I remember
Maven, yeah.
The first Tough Enough winner. Al Snow and Spike Dudley. And Lesnar came out and he picked up.
Brother, run.
Yep. He picked up Snow, put him through a garbage can. He F5'd Maven, which was like, what the fuck did I just watch? Like, and then he triple power bombed Spike Dudley.
And that was when the F5 was way more of a tornado and less of just the lifting DDT kind of
Yes.
deal, right?
Yeah.
It looked way worse back then.
When I saw it, I was like, what?
Who's this guy?
What, like
And then you see him do a shooting star, and you're like, what the fuck?
Right.
Yeah, his athletic ability is just second to none. That's the thing.
He was so impressive because, here comes a 2-time national champion wrestler, who just, he looked impressive. He was incredibly fast. I mean, what his moveset now is suplex, 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 F5.
Well, that's what Vince wants.
But
Strikes, 3 moves.
He was like a big Rey Mysterio. Like, he could do anything.
Right.
Not maybe not Rey Mysterio.
To that extent.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Was he was trained by Luchas, no?
No.
I thought he was trained by Luchas, or at least at one point worked with Luchas in Mexico.
He came up through OVW. So he wrestled with like Dr. Tom Pritchard, like the WWE. He went through the WWE.
Maybe I'm thinking of someone else that.
I don't think he wasn't trained by Luchas.
Oh, you know who? Obviously Luchasaurus, but that's not who it is. It's one of the other big guys like
Right.
that, though.
But because he came up, he was in the Cena, Orton, Batista, Shelton Benjamin.
Right, him and Benjamin.
Yeah,
were partners
04,
in,
04 masterclass.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
all and him and Benjamin were like best friends. They traveled together
Yeah.
and set up the ring. Lesnar drove the ring truck from town to town. He was they called him the foreman because he was the guy.
So that's
So what's your 3?
Yeah, that's my number 3.
Number 3, Royal Rumble 1992. Nature Boy Ric Flair coming in number 3, winning the Rumble. Just an incredible event. The talent roster at that point was unbelievable. And so I mean the whole pay-per-view is the Royal Rumble match. Just Nature Boy, Nature Boy it up,
Yeah.
And you had Taker, Shawn Michaels, Hulk Hogan, British Bulldog, Bret Hart. I mean, the list goes on. And in that pay-per-view, Rowdy Piper beat not Mr. Perfect, but he won the Intercontinental title that night. I think he beat the Mountie. I don't remember, but he won the Intercontinental title, which was like another big match. Piper, that was the first title Piper had ever won.
Oh, really?
So that's why it was like a big deal. And just also like watch it. I had all my friends. It was like one of the first times I had all my friends over to watch a show. And we were betting. My dad was making us bet push-ups on who was going to win.
That's it. A Royal Rumble is another thing. Done right is phenomenal. Done wrong is downright bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it could get long and boring if it's not done right.
Oh, yeah.
My number 3, this is the big mark spot for me. It's Armageddon 2008. Main event, Jeff Hardy goes over Edge and Triple H in the triple threat to win his first ever WWE Championship match. On the undercard, you also have Punk versus Ray in a very good match for a number 1 contender spot for the Intercontinental Championship back in the day when they did shit like that on the pay-per-view cards. I believe it was Batista Orton for the WCW belt. Overall, very solid show, but at the time we were watching it at a buddy's house. It was just me, him, and his girlfriend. And it was like 2007, right? 2008. So we're in high school. So the show was running a little late, and his girlfriend had to be home. So his mom was like, oh, we got to take so-and-so home. And I'm like, that's cool. Like, Jeff's going over tonight, so I'm going to watch the show. So I watched Jeff go over in my buddy's living room alone.
Wow.
Because he went with his mom to drop his girlfriend off.
He's like, that's great, but I'm not doing that. So
that's awesome.
So that's my number 3. Armageddon 2008. Very solid show.
Nice.
Number 2. Maybe this is more for the moment as well, but it's on here. Vengeance 2001. Jericho beats Rock and Stone Cold.
Wow.
It becomes the first undisputed.
Very good. Very good night.
And I feel like, I just feel like those 2 major stars in The Rock and Stone Cold. And for me, like Jericho was like such a second tier guy at that point in my own eyes, not maybe with talent wise or what, was actually going on, but for just for me. And then seeing him do that, I'm like, oh wow, he's really the guy. And then you see how his career progressed and you're like, oh yeah, no, he was the guy. Vince did the right thing by doing that. So Vengeance 2001, that's another moment for me.
It's a good show.
Yeah. I don't, you can't, if you tried so you can't choose, I can't choose that as a match, right? Because I would have taken it as a match, but you can't take it as a match because it's two matches. So I had to use it as the event.
Had to burn an event spot.
Had to burn the event, but it had to. It was a big moment.
So my number 2, I got WrestleMania 19, stacked card, Austin Rock 3.
Mm-hmm.
That's, correct me if I'm wrong, Kurt Brock, right?
Yeah.
It's Brock breaking his neck.
Mm-hmm.
Lesnar almost killing himself, doing a shooting star press in the main advance angle. Hogan McMahon, and underrated stole the show match, Shawn Michaels, Chris Jericho. Like, Shawn Michaels coming back, can he still do it? And the two of them just went out and had a freaking classic. You know, I mean,
Michaels back after 4 years,
yeah.
right? Yep.
Yep.
First
Well,
time back in the ring.
No, not the first time back in the ring, but his like welcome back. Like HBK is back, like the real HBK, like
Right.
doing the moonsault, doing the elbow. Like the two of them just had a classic. You know, the undercard you had Mysterio, Matt Hardy for, I want to say, the cruiserweight title. You had Undertaker with Nathan Jones, who was supposed to be like the next big thing, but he was there for about a month. So Undertaker, Nathan Jones versus Big Show and Prince Albert. There was a
Prince Albert.
Yeah, there's a very good tag match with like RVD, the Guerreros. There's a good women's match, Trish and Jazz, I want to say. Just good loaded card, you know, just a good show. The shot, I think one of the best shots in the history of, you know, of wrestling is Stone Cold Steve Austin coming out from the ramp and following him through, because they had this crazy entrance, which was kind of like it was at Safeco Field. So, I mean, it's like a baseball stadium. And the way the entrance stage was, they had like these two jumbo monitors and then the big stage with all the pyro and everything. And, you know, the glass breaks, Austin comes out, and instead of like following him coming out from the front, the camera followed him from behind. And he comes down the ramp, and like the way the entrance was, it was like this way, then this way. So it kind of snaked to the ring. It was just a very cool shot following him to the ring. And in hindsight, you found out that it was his last match. And at the time you didn't, but that match felt so big. You know, it was Rock coming back from Hollywood, Austin. And I know it's not, everybody thinks 17 is their best one of the three, but this one I liked a lot. You know, just really well done.
Yeah.
And Hogan McMahon was just a lot of fun, you know, to see that. And they had a good storyline leading up to that. It was just very cool. Hogan like drop off the ladder, threw Vince on the table.
Very good show.
Good show.
All right, my number 2. We were freshmen in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't have a job. Didn't start working until I was like 16.
All right.
No, it's relevant.
It was okay.
This is when the pay-per-views were $49.99,
Okay.
but the big ones were $59.99. So I went to my dad the Sunday before, with $65 cash, and I said, "Dad, I'm not asking. I'm telling you. Here's the money. We're getting WrestleMania 23 next week."
Oh, good show.
And, you know, that's why I didn't have a job was relevant, because, you know, to be 14, not have a job and come up with $65, it's kind of a big deal.
It's a couple birthdays. That could be multiple birthdays, depending on how many families.
Depending on how much your family loves you. So, I mean, you had the Money in the Bank ladder match with Jeff Hardy, Edge, Matt Hardy,
Benoit.
not
Sheamus. What's his name?
Ken Kennedy.
Finley. Kane.
Yes, and Ken Kennedy obviously went over. First person to win and then lose the bet. He lost it to Edge.
Oh.
He lost the contract to Edge a couple of weeks later, and then Edge wound up cashing.
Edge cashed it on Orton?
I think so. You had the hair versus hair match, Bobby Lashley versus Umaga.
Trump.
President Trump.
Man. Battle of the Billionaires.
Mm-hmm.
And they shaved Vinny's head at the end. That was Batista versus Taker.
Yes.
For the World Heavyweight title.
Very good.
Good match. That was Cena versus HBK for the WWE strap.
Let me say this about that Taker Batista match. That was like him and Orton had a great match, but then they did Henry Taker the next year. But Batista Taker was like that start of like Taker having these like 5-star matches at Mania.
Yeah.
Because that was just, you know, he put Batista over in a loss. You know, Batista went over and losing.
Yeah.
And because like Edge went over the next year and losing. You know, in 24 they had Edge and Taker, another just classic where you can get over in a loss. And I think Batista really got over in this loss because he had such a phenomenal match with Taker. My opinion.
And that whole show was great.
Oh yeah.
Great card. So that's my 2, WrestleMania 23.
Did they have like that was the one where Santino won the girls battle royal?
That might be the one where Santina Marella.
Yeah.
Couldn't do that now.
And then,
anyway, that's different now.
Mysterio JBL.
Yes.
And then JBL quit for the first time. He quit like a million times. He's like, I quit.
Yeah.
Something else was on that show that was very good that I can't remember. Because that was a good pay-per-view.
What was the U.S. title match? Oh, no. Well, Umaga was IC champ, and Bobby Lashley was ECW champ.
Yes. Yeah. But there was...
Was the Ray match for the U.S. strap?
Might have been. It was definitely for a title. I'm trying to think. If I'm racking my brain, there was another like very solid match on there that I can't think of. But I know that the main event was excellent, Michael Cena, and the Taker match was excellent, and the ladder match was,
Let me see your list. Because I have a feeling we have the same number one. Okay, we do.
Yeah. I
So
figured
you're
that.
going to go first with your number one.
All right.
So then we'll
one.
just tag team the number one.
So number one is a show that is the only show on my list that I didn't watch live, and it's WrestleMania 3. And there's 2 matches on there that to me are the all-time classic matches. I think they're both on my top 5. Well, they're not on my top 5. One's in my top 10, one's in my top 5. But Hogan Andre, obviously,
yeah.
the main event. It's in front of 93,000 people. So at the time, it's like the most people you've ever seen at a show. I mean, now they have the stadium shows all the time, so it wasn't a big deal. But this was like the only at the time the stadium show. Savage Steamboat. I mean, just 5-star classic. You had Jake the Snake with Alice Cooper versus the Honky Tonk Man. I mean, like a lot of that 80s cheese, but
yeah, but that was the first.
You get Hulk slamming Andre.
Slamming Andre.
That changed everything.
That's the moment for me in wrestling.
And you get the great story too with like Andre telling him in the ring, like, you got to do it.
You got to pick me up.
Yeah.
He's like,
my knees are tired, boy.
Yeah.
Like,
I can't pick you up. How am I going to
and
pick you
it'll
up?
forever be in the record books because it was the three arena deal. They credit it with 103,000 on the attendance because they were in 3 different arenas.
And that one?
WrestleMania 3 was the one where it was in.
No,
that wasn't that one.
WrestleMania 2 was in 3 separate arenas.
That was WrestleMania 2.
Really?
So where was WrestleMania 3? Because that's credited with having 103,000 people in attendance.
So one was the Garden with all the celebrities. 2, they did it in 3 separate venues. They did it at the Coliseum. They did it at Nassau
Coliseum.
The Spectrum it's not the Spectrum, but the big
Staples Center.
Yeah.
Now Crypto.com Center.
Yep. Yeah. Whatever it is. So there, and then in Chicago, at WrestleMania 2 had the football players. Brilliant, the Refrigerator Perry. So it was half NFL players, half wrestlers in a battle royal. That was WrestleMania 2, and then WrestleMania 3 was at the Pontiac Silverdome. So same spot same city as WrestleMania 23.
New Orleans. Right?
No.
Detroit.
Yeah. So WrestleMania 23 was in Detroit also, because originally they had planned on doing Hogan Big Show to kind of recreate that, but then they couldn't get Hogan, and it's a whole long story.
Oh, 23 is also Floyd Mayweather Big Show.
No, that's 24.
That's in 24?
24, yep.
Great segment.
Yeah, awesome. So much better than I thought it was going to be. Like, because Big Show should obviously just annihilate him, but they made it.
Yeah,
they did well.
They did a good job with it.
Did he break his nose?
Yes.
Yeah.
Really broke.
Nice.
Like
Floyd
real
really-
life broke his nose.
Well, because Floyd was throwing like these like butterfly punches, and then Big Show's like, no, like
you got to hit me.
Lay it in.
And he's like, okay, I'm a world champ, so if you want me to lay it in, I'll lay it in.
He's like, I don't want to knock you out, and Big Show's like, it's gonna be a hard time for you to knock him out, and he almost did.
Yeah.
You got it, Paul.
Yeah, you got it. I'll let it rip. Number one for me and for I guess Jim is WrestleMania 17.
WrestleMania X7, baby. Come on.
So
the greatest WrestleMania of all time, and many people.
It's the greatest wrestling show of all time.
It's hard to argue.
For our age when it went down.
Shane O'Mac going coast to coast on fucking Vinny with the garbage can.
Yep.
TLC 2, which we're going to talk about, so don't even waste your breath right now. Rock Austin 1.
No, Rock Austin 2.
Rock Austin 2, sorry.
They did 15, 17, 19. Every other year.
It's a tremendous show.
The gimmick battle royal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for me, that was like a lot of fun. Taker, Triple H, no holds barred.
Yep.
When Taker chokeslammed him off the freaking scaffold. It looks like a terrible bump, but it's like not that bad. But the way they shot the camera angle, they were on top of a scaffold, and Taker fucking chokeslammed Triple H off of it.
Oh, really?
And then that card opens with the great match. What does that card open
Jericho
with?
Regal for the IC title.
Correct. Yeah.
Which was just like a great story. That's when he pissed in the coffee
Mm-hmm.
on Raw.
Mm-hmm.
You had that hardcore match, Kane, Big Show, and Raven.
Yep. Raven. Yep.
What else was on there?
Raven, one of the hardcore kings.
China and Ivory. But the story behind that match was like Vince is like, you got to give her a little offense, and China's like, fuck that. She's like, that bitch would never beat me in real life. And She basically manhandled Ivory. Ivory just like, you can go ahead.
Well, people said it's the worst match on the card. Worst match on the card.
Oh, it
right?
is because they were supposed to have like a back. There was supposed to be a story.
Supposed to be a match.
But China's like, fuck that. I want to wrestle guys.
China comes from the fucking quick school of thinking where fuck everybody. We put no one over. We step on everyone's neck in the process.
She's like, why am I'm wrestling Chris Jericho. I'm wrestling Jeff Jarrett. I'm wrestling Eddie Guerrero. Why am I going in there against Ivory? Because I'm the woman and I'm the women's champ. Like, she's like, fuck that.
I mean, I get it from her perspective because she was her physique was.
Oh, she was impressive. I mean, she was a specimen.
Yeah, but at the same time, how do you ever build up a woman's division if
Right.
you know what I mean?
But that's the problem. That's why they got rid of her, because she didn't want to conform.
Right.
It's like having Andre and giving him the belt back in the day. You can
Well, that's
never,
why- yeah,
you
you
can never
can't.
give Andre the belt.
No.
You can never take it off him.
You can never take him off.
Wasn't Angle Benoit on there too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which was like a clinic. But, yeah.
Okay, so I think for like WrestleMania 3 is probably the most significant as far as wrestling goes, as
Sure.
far as like the history of wrestling. But for us, like I don't know,
No, I think 17. Everybody regards
the spear
17.
off,
17
the spear
is-
off the ladder.
17
when he's
is
holding on to the belt.
17 is widely considered
the best.
the
wrestler.
best WrestleMania
Yeah.
by everybody.
I mean, they tore down the house though, but we're not gonna get into that.
I get 3. I get WrestleMania 3.
Three is like nostalgia. You know what I mean? It's like WWE was coming into that like kind of like my era. Like 3 was kind of the end of like the beginning of Hulkamania. It was like the culmination of Hulkamania was WrestleMania 3 against Andre, and then from 88 to, because 88 Hogan was leaving to go do a movie, so they had to put the title on somebody. Hogan had the title since 83, and this was 87. Like hadn't lost, held the title for 3 years or 3.5 years, whatever it was.
It's back in the day when we did title reigns.
Yeah. I mean, the longest title run most recently is Punk still, I think, right? Doesn't Punk still have?
I mean, Reigns is getting close, right?
Yeah.
He's got to be getting
And
close.
they're going to give it to, I mean, obviously now that Punk's over on AEW.
They're giving it to Reigns.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You can forget
without a
about
doubt.
that. That's gone.
And I think that's why he's gonna go over Rock at WrestleMania. He's got to go over Rock.
He needs
Rock
to go
doesn't
over
need
Rock.
to.
Rock
this is
doesn't
why
need anything.
This is why I don't
Also,
fucking watch.
here's
This is
the
why I
thing.
don't watch their product.
Here's the other thing, though. Say Rock goes over. Rock now has to lose the strap.
Yeah.
Right? So what is he going to
And
do? He's
how-
just going
Are we
to
gonna
give
have
it up?
are we gonna have no champ on TV for a year because he's not gonna show up and drop the strap at fucking Backlash or whatever the post WrestleMania
The Rock-
pay per view is now.
Vince called the Rock and said, "Hey man, you got the WrestleMania window open?" And Rock's like, "Yes." This was 3 years ago. 3 years ago, Vince called and said, "Listen, I need you to make a window," because The Rock is like booked solid in Hollywood forever.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's the #1 box office draw in the world.
Which is
fine.
totally awesome. That's
Which
great.
is
He deserves it.
Which is the reason he can't get the fucking belt.
Right.
We
Yeah.
can't have the belt not on TV.
That's my point. He just gave him that. I need like 3 Raws, and I need maybe Royal Rumble. You could show up and just kind of do something real quick, you know. And Vince probably mapped it out to where, all right, where's he shooting? That's where we're gonna go, so he can like get off a set, show up.
Insane that
He's
everything's going to go
He's
in.
booking everything around getting the Rock on. Because why wouldn't you want to have the Rock on? your
Yeah,
TV?
because
You
it's
know what I
worth.
mean?
No, I
5
understand.
figures,
But
6
Reigns
figures.
got to go over.
Oh yeah, he has to.
Like,
And if you put the Rock over, it's like to what? Do a return match the next year? Like Vince has to learn. You got to get other people over. Who's over in WWE right now?
nobody.
Roman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Who else
you
is
know,
over?
besides-
Roman.
Right.
It's Roman.
There's nobody else hot in the company. Like you have like AEW, you have 25 people who are over. You know, like you have Orange Cassidy, you got
Orange
Darby,
Cassidy's over.
MJF,
and
you
it's
got
like,
Jungle Boy, you got Kenny, you
The
got
fucking
the Bucks.
Super Click is over, and they're heels.
Everybody's over.
Yeah.
Everyone's over.
Everyone's over. Brian, Punk, the John Silver, our fucking guy,
Johnny
Silver.
Silver, baby.
Yeah.
Shout out New York.
Tony Nese coming for
Tony Nese is coming soon.
No,
All right.
he on Rampage.
He was on Rampage. He wrestled
Yeah. Well, he didn't wrestle.
like
He-
last night.
No, last night he had a segment with Sammy.
Did they like officially announce his signing yet? Or
Oh yeah, he's wrestling on Dynamite next week for
Cool.
the TNT strap.
let's go.
Wow.
Shout out Long Island.
He great segment. Tony Schiavone's interviewing him. He's like, "What are you doing here?" He's like, "Oh, you know, I'm scouting, figuring people out." He's like, "That's what we do. We scout people. We figure people out." Sammy goes, "Why are you over here talking all this shit?" And Tony's like, "Hey man, I got no problem." Shook out his hand. He's like, "Let's have a match next week." He's like, "It's an open challenge. I'm putting in for the open challenge." Sammy shakes hand. They get in each other's face. Sammy goes to walk away. Tony Nese cheap shot, knee in the ribs, and said, "I'm gonna fuck you up."
I love Sammy, man.
Tony Nese got to go over.
No, not for the belt. Come on
Come
now.
on.
No, it's Sammy.
He's
Sammy's a young stud.
He's a
dude.
hometown guy. It's like I got it. You know,
Before-
John Silver should be the AEW champ. No, I'm just
But before we get into top 5 matches, we're gonna take a quick break.
All
All right. we're here. We got to talk to you about Stay Thirsty for a minute, all right? In October, we had a special promotion going on. Droptober, you had brand new products every week in the month of October. For the holiday season, we got a little something different going on. Isn't that right, Jack?
Yes, sir. This holiday season, we're going to have a mystery box for you guys. You're going to use code HAVOC to get 15% off. Get a mystery box. You're going to give a gift to yourself while you're giving gifts to the people you care about.
Stay Thirsty Co. Drop the OY and focus on you. We're back. We're going to get right into our personal top 5 matches. I'll start this one out. Coming in at number 5. The Shield versus the Wyatt family, Elimination Chamber 2014.
Nice match.
It's a good match.
Two of the great stables of modern pro wrestling. Two of the most important stables in my book since the days of Evolution and D-Generation X. Both guys great on the stick. I mean, the Shield really came into their own as it moved on. Wyatt great on the stick immediately. 5 of these guys went on to become very important in the history of pro wrestling. Rest in peace to Luke Harper, Brody Lee, forget his real name, John Huber.
Yeah.
Eric Redbeard, what are you going to do? He's kind of in every I mean, good worker.
Everybody
good
else
worker,
became-
but
Solid,
just
solid.
the typical big guy. Match was great. This was the match I was trying. I couldn't. Your login you gave me something was wrong, but I was like, I'm not going to bother. It was
I'll
It was
find out.
quarter to 11 at night. I'm like, I'm not going to bother him.
I'll find out what it is and I'll send it to you.
I tried to read. That was the first time, and since I got rid of the network, and I got rid of the network the day Goldberg went over The Fiend
Yeah.
in Saudi Arabia. That was the day I cut
You were
ties with
like,
the network.
that's it. Goodbye.
And
Build that guy up. For
this
the
match I tried to
800th time.
rewatch, but I obviously could not. But I do remember it being a sick match and just what it meant at the time. It had real big fight feel to it.
Oh, 100%.
And Bray Wyatt's my guy.
Yep.
So number 5 for me, we just spoke about it, and it's just because of the significance is Andre versus Hulk. The significance alone needed to be in the top 5. So I put it there personally. It is what it is.
See, I'm not doing like an all-time top 5. I'm doing my top 5.
Well, I just feel like I'm going significance of what it meant for wrestling. Like a lot of these are, well, I guess you'll see. But for the significance of wrestling, I went Andre Hulk.
Fair enough.
All right, so I have 10 matches down here. I won't go into detail about all of them. The 5 that I have that are not in the top 5, I have Bret and Owen, WrestleMania 13, Brother versus Brother, Clinic. Stu Hart's, the pride and joy of Stu Hart. Savage Steamboat, WrestleMania 3, 5-star classic. Here's one that probably nobody would think that I put on here, but I put on here is Charlotte and Asuka at WrestleMania 34. I think just underrated gem. 2 girls going out there and just giving it their all. I know people will pick any one of the Sasha Charlotte matches over that one, but I think the significance of Asuka's undefeated streak versus obviously the best woman in wrestling, maybe in the history of wrestling, at WrestleMania, just phenomenal. And then I got the 2 matches from Halloween Havoc, Mysterio Guerrero and Savage and DDP. But my number 5 match is SummerSlam 1996, The Undertaker, Mick Foley, Boiler Room Brawl.
Oh, hell yeah.
Just, Taker still in the purple and black, Foley just coming into his own as Mankind. And what should have been a fucking terrible match was phenomenal. Literally in a boiler room, just 2 guys beating the fucking shit out of each other and loving every second of it. Just put on a great match. And SummerSlam 1996 is arguably the best year in the history of the WWF. Because just they were down in the dumps and they were putting on pay-per-view after pay-per-view after pay-per-view. That was just phenomenal. Taker really coming into his own. Brett and Shawn's nonsense. You got Foley there. Triple H coming to his own. Just 96 was just the year.
Yeah, Foley playing multiple characters.
And I know most
Great character work.
Oh.
I love Mick. He's one of my dream
Just-
guys to
just
have sit down in the room and
one,
talk to.
One of the best guys. I mean, just a great. I mean, I've met him a couple times. Just a great guy. And I know everybody will think of Hell in the Cell with Taker and Foley, but that wasn't a great match. I mean, it's the moments in that match that everybody's like, wow. But this was like a good wrestling match, good psychology, and like I said, they beat the shit out of each other in that match. So that's my number 5.
My number 4, a match that going into it you don't think should have worked as well as it did and be on anyone's list. Throw my homerism aside, it's Jeff going over Edge and Triple H for the WWE title at Armageddon. A match that probably shouldn't have worked at the time was amazing. These 3 guys did great. It really was kind of Jeff's coming out party, probably 5 years too late. And, obviously, that's my guy. That was my number. That's the only WWE title win that made me feel something ever. like emotionally.
Sure,
Like
sure.
Jeff's the only guy that I've felt emotionally connected to, and especially terrible drug addict.
Isn't
the
that
whole
weird?
deal.
Because I feel the same way that he's like one of the only guys in our generation that I feel
It's
like
the only like, and that the two WCW runs I don't give like. This is the most significant one for me, and he only had the belt a month because he dropped it at that Rumble after Matt came out and smashed him and helped. It was Randy go over, or Edge went over in that Rumble match.
Yeah, which one?
Right then, a month after this Armageddon, Royal Rumble 2008.
Randy?
No, it was Edge because Edge was the champion
Yeah.
going in, so it was his automatic rematch clause. So he dropped the belt to Edge in I think it was no disqualification match at Rumble. Matt Hardy came out, smashed Jeff with a chair or something, helped Edge win,
Oh, okay.
set up their WrestleMania match, right?
Brother versus brother.
Yep.
That's 24.
4.
Yep. When they beat the shit out. No, 25. That was 25, wasn't it?
Well, it would have been Armageddon 2008 and then Rumble 2008. Rumble happens in what month?
Rumble's January, so it's
January,
2009.
yeah.
Rumble 2009. All right, yeah. So then you're right. It would have been WrestleMania 25.
25.
Brother versus brother, no
They
disqualifications.
destroyed each other in that match.
And he finished him with the twist of fate with his head inside the chair. Gnarly.
25 is a good WrestleMania. I forgot about 20. 25 is a very good.
That's Miz going over Cena, right?
No,
that's 24?
That's 27.
27. Wow.
25.
Miz going over Cena.
25 is Taker Michaels.
Yes.
Take a
No.
break.
Oh, yes. 24 is Michael's Rick.
Michaels Rick, yeah. 25 is the main event was Randy and Triple H, which was like after Taker HBK. It was like
Yeah.
All right. So you're number 4, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, 4.
4. I have the Mick Foley and Undertaker. That spot.
Hell in Cell.
Yep, that spot. Like I said, like the significance of the matches that I chose. You know what I mean? Like we talked about Mick Foley, right? And I feel like he's
Foley
one of
Taker
those,
Hell in a Cell.
Yeah.
Like that's
King of the Ring.
King of the Ring 01.
Yeah.
No,
98.
98. Yep.
And I just feel like from a perspective of like a worker, right? I don't look at Mick Foley as like nobody should as the most athletic or the strongest or this or that. But what he did for the entertainment industry, I guess, as a whole, being able to play multiple characters, being able to take risks that no one would take. Like, I don't know of many people that would take that spot. And I don't even think Undertaker wanted to give him that spot, right?
Well, the story goes that they climbed up there, I think, the day before, and Foley's like, "You're gonna throw me off, right?" And Taker was like, "I don't know, man." Like, because the spot where not the first fall, but the second one, when he chokeslammed him on the cage and he went through.
Yeah.
Accidental.
That was accidental, yeah.
Because the chair was underneath
And
him.
that's a worse bump.
Oh, of course, yeah.
That's a way worse.
Especially when you're not expecting it.
Because
Yeah.
he chokeslammed him onto the chair, onto the cage, right? And then so the chair fell with them. Like he could have died,
Well,
dude. That chair.
the momentum of just falling through that cage and the ring stops you. It's not like the table will break
Nope.
and you kind of fold.
Yeah,
into
little
the table.
give in the ring.
And he also braced, you saw the way he falls off the Hell in a Cell. He braces for it.
Yeah.
He's not just free falling like he was in that second spot. So, I don't know. Iconic moments.
Foley is a good worker, though. You can't say
No, he's a good worker. I'm saying, but you
He's not technically sound. He's not a shooter. He's not.
yeah.
But he can, though. That's the thing. Like people
I've always compared him to Terry Funk, and I don't think I'm alone in that.
if you watch when he went from WCW, he was Cactus Jack, and then he went to ECW. When he went to ECW, they thought he was going to go insane, be like Sabu times 1,000, where he was just going to destroy himself. And he went over there and put people in headlocks and said, because they put a sign up that said Kane Dewey, and Dewey's his son. So they want, he's like, these fucking people want them to cane my fucking son. Like, fuck you. You want to see me go on thumbtacks? No way. Here's a headlock. Here's an arm twist takeover. There's like a dropped whole hold. Like he did that stuff in ECW, and the fans booed the shit out of him because he was like, "Fuck you! I'm not gonna go destroy myself. You want to cane my son? Fuck you!"
Yeah.
But if you watch some of those matches, he wrestles those matches. Like he works those matches. There's not him flying over the steel steps.
A lot of good to great working wrestlers came out of there, though. You got the Team 3D.
Yeah.
Team 3D, RVD.
You could
Terry
arguably
Funk came through there.
Oh yeah, but my argument though is that Foley is a good worker.
No, I think he's a good worker.
He's-
too.
I mean, I could arguably put him in my top 5 wrestlers. I didn't, but I could for me because him and The Rock,
Rock and Sock Connection.
Yeah,
classic all around.
phenomenal. Yeah.
Those 3 characters, classic.
Like This Is Your Life Rock is the highest rated segment in the history of Raw.
That's what I'm saying. So you could arguably put him there. I'm just saying for what he looks like, from you looking at him from afar, you don't expect him
Ultimate non-body guy.
Yeah.
He's a
Number
monster.
one non-body guy ever.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yokozuna.
All right.
Ugh.
I mean,
I hate it, but all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the I mean, Foley, yes, but Yokozuna was in a league of his own because that guy.
I don't put him in the non-body guy category though. I put him in the
like
freak category.
Yeah, the big man.
It's him,
category.
Andre, Great Khali, the freaks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he was, but Yoko could work,
Yeah.
And he's part of the Samoan. He's in Roman's, Roman and the Rock's lineage. He's part of that family.
They all are, besides Samoa Joe. He's the only wrestling
Yeah.
Samoan that's not related to any of them.
Yep.
Really?
Yeah. So where are we at now?
4.
You're number 4?
Yep. WrestleMania 13, Bret Hart, The Rock. Bret Hart, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Watch it and tell me it's not maybe the best match of all time. Because it's Stone Cold's turning from a heel to a babyface and Bret turning from a babyface to a heel.
The good old double turn.
It's the classic, he doesn't give up. Bret's got him in the sharpshooter. He doesn't give up. He passes out. Also, introduction of Ken Shamrock. Ken Shamrock was the special guest referee in that match. And just...
For what? How did that happen?
Well, he was already a UFC fighter.
He was a UFC fighter. WWE brought him in. So he was like the wild card in the match. Like, what's this UFC?
What is he doing here?
Yeah.
Right.
So he was the special guest referee. It was a no-holds-barred match. Obviously the famous image of Stone Cold in the sharpshooter with the blood dripping down his face.
Yeah.
But it's just...
That is one of the most iconic images.
It's just a phenomenal match. Like, bell to bell. It's just, the greatest in-ring general of all time, Bret Hart, and, Stone Cold Steve Austin, the biggest draw in the history of professional wrestling. And this is before Austin, hit, before he beat Michaels at Mania. This is the year before. And the funny thing is that Mania was supposed to be Michaels Bret 2. So 96 was the Iron Man match, and this was supposed to be the rematch where Shawn dropped the title back to Bret, and that's when Shawn lost his smile. So then they inserted Stone Cold in there because Stone Cold and Bret had wrestled at Survivor Series and had a put on a clinic there. That was like a wrestling match. This was like, let's beat the shit out of each other, but also just phenomenal. It's phenomenal. If you haven't seen it, you should definitely go back and watch it. One of the best matches of all time.
I have to put that on my list and give it a little rewatch.
It's phenomenal.
Coming in at number 3 for me, we're going to talk about TNA again. TNA gets a lot of flack and a lot of shit for becoming the place where wrestling careers went to die. And towards the end, I say the end, but before, because now Impact, I don't consider Impact TNA.
It's different.
Once they got bought out, I considered them a new company.
Yeah. But
in the history of total nonstop action wrestling from 2002 to 2010, we'll say, by the end, 2009, 2010, that's where Mick Foley wrestled matches against Sting, and Hulk was there, and Flair was wrestling, and it did get silly. But they had lightning in a bottle for a few years. And they really had lightning in a bottle with the X Division.
Well, Impact, or TNA Impact, whatever you want to call it, was AEW before AEW.
Oh, yeah.
And if you want to go just by ratings numbers, Impact trumps AEW. Again, streaming and everything else, it's different, but they... And
just watched TV is different. The way we consume content is different.
But their numbers are twice what AEW is doing now.
They had the big Spike TV deal.
Yep.
So this match is AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe versus then champion, the fallen angel Christopher Daniels.
Wow.
At the time, now this is 3 years in the company's history. At the time, Christopher Daniels, longest reigning X Division champion at just over 6 months. Joe really shows us in this match the tagline. It's not the TNA X Division. It's not about weight limits. It's about no limits. At 280 pounds, this man is doing diving planchas. He's doing full, over the top rope, tempe suicida, sentons. He's flying around. Everything Joe does at this point in his career is vicious with violent intent. He might be one of the greatest non-body guys ever to live, honestly.
100%.
You want to talk about, when we talked about guys who could still go when they were older, like Kane and all them, we always talk about no wasted motion. Not a single step is wasted in this match. It's a storytelling masterclass. Styles goes over Daniels with the pin to keep Joe undefeated for his second X Division title. And at that point, only a few months later at that Lockdown pay-per-view, he would beat Abyss for the NWA title and become the first 2-time Triple Crown winner in less than 3 years.
Impact was never on my radar, really. I knew the guys that Scott Hall was there, Jeff Jarrett was there, Sting was there. Samoa Joe's what got me to start watching Impact Wrestling.
Well, for me, it was Hardy.
Well,
This
yeah.
match is pre-Hardy, I think. But Hardy's over there. A lot of guys I liked were over there. Hardy's over there. Christian Cage comes over a short time after that. Angle did most of his best work of his career in TNA.
Yeah,
He's got more time in TNA than he does in WWE.
which is crazy. People don't understand that.
He went over in his prime, like his like what Bryan Danielson is doing now with AEW. That's what Angle did, and on a bigger. I mean, Angle put them on the map. You know what I mean when he came over. But like I said, Samoa Joe is the guy that got me to watch Impact Wrestling.
And it's just a regular triple threat match, no gimmicks, regular wrestling match. Very good, very solid. 3 of the TNA greats.
You can't go wrong with those.
And at this point, Daniels is 33 years old. Like, he's no spring chicken in this match.
Yeah.
He was in his prime. And
Daniels is not my favorite, but I've come to appreciate him a lot more.
Daniels is
recently.
very solid. And when you hear about the whole deal with it was me all along, Austin, that deal, Daniels was originally supposed to be the guy.
Yep. Yeah.
And then Vince was like, this guy?
Right.
He's 190 pounds. Fuck that.
Right.
And Vince wasn't. Never watched him wrestle. Never watched him work. Just said that this guy's supposed to be the guy? No way.
AJ Styles to this day considered maybe the best wrestler in the world.
Yeah, 100%. In this match, Daniels and Joe are outside. And this is a spot now we see all the time, but this is the days before this was a regular spot. Styles does the running suicide dive. He bounces off the opposite side ropes, comes running back. He doesn't stop and grab the ropes like all these other. In stride, jumps, lands on the top rope, shooting star press onto the two of them. And when I saw that, that's when I was like, because we always say Sammy's Shawn, Sammy's Brett, Sammy's fucking AJ Styles.
Yes, agreed.
Rewatching this match the other night made me realize Sammy is AJ Styles. But AJ Styles was like steroided out. Like he was a little fucking bulldog.
Yeah,
he was little and huge and just a very great match.
3?
Yes, sir.
No, I didn't have them in order, so this is where it's gonna get confusing. This is where it's gonna get tough. I'm gonna go for the storytelling aspect. Shawn Michaels, Ric Flair, WrestleMania.
Phenomenal.
Retirement match. Probably again one of the most iconic moments that I can remember is, and I don't want to butcher the quote. Do you know the quote?
I love you. I'm
I
sorry.
love you.
I'm sorry. I was gonna say I'm sorry. I love you.
I'm sorry. I love you.
I don't know.
No,
I think it's I love you.
I love you. I'm sorry.
I love you. I'm sorry.
And then the pin, and that pin, he was saying something to him, which we may never know, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But even the look, like there's no words said, but Rick looks back at him like it's okay. I'm ready to go.
No, he wasn't ready to go. Vince forced him into that. He didn't want to go in the Hall of Fame. He didn't want to stop wrestling. Vince forced. That's why he went to TNA.
He needed to though.
He's
59 years old in that match.
But you can't.
He could still get it, but like
you can't. It's hard for somebody to make that decision for you, and that was the issue with that. Vince made that decision for him.
Well, look at anybody now.
The only choice he had was who he was going to wrestle, because Vince gave him, you can have Hunter, you can have Taker, you can have whoever you want. He picked Shawn Michaels.
Well, Shawn should have put him out.
Yeah. So for that moment and for like the feeling that you got watching that,
watch that match now and not. I'd give you $100 if either one of the two of you could watch that match now and not get a teary eye.
Oh yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
100%.
That's what I'm saying. So for what you want to talk about storytelling, it doesn't get any better than that. It doesn't get any better than that.
No, well, with the history, because
how far they went back.
Well, HBK wanted to be Ric Flair.
Right.
So that's, it's just everything about that match you can't go wrong with that.
And that's 3 for me. And it, it arguably could have been higher, but there's reasons why. So that's.
I wonder if our 1 and 2 are the same. But
I know one of ours is the same.
One of them. What's here?
And I think one of ours is the same. So we'll see.
Probably. So my number 3 is the Royal Rumble match from 1992. Ric Flair going over. I went over it. Just loaded card. Loaded talent in that. You got
in that match.
If there's 30 wrestlers in there, I would say 26 of them are in the Hall of Fame.
That's insane.
It's wild.
It's just it was and not just for that. It's Ric Flair's. It's arguably Ric Flair's greatest match of his career, because he went in there, he wrestled every single person that came into.
Did he go in 1 or 2?
3. So I believe Ted DiBiase, British Bulldog, started off Hall of Famer. Ric Flair comes in 3. Then it's one of the Nasty Boys. So they're not maybe not in the Hall of Fame yet, but they will be in the Hall of Fame. And then just like one after the other, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels. I mean, Undertaker, Psycho Sid, the Earthquake.
What year was it?
92.
92.
I'll tell you, at the Rumbles, I hate wasted spots, and you love a good spot. We got Bully Ray at the 3 spot in 2015 when we were
Yeah,
there.
that's phenomenal.
Bully Ray with Truth with the get the tape, great moment. Like those are the moments that make the Rumble for me.
So the spot in this Rumble that was phenomenal. It's like they're up to 18, 19, somewhere like that. Flair throws out the last. Everybody gets thrown out. Flair goes over, dumps over the other guy, turns around, does like the Ric Flair, like takes a couple steps and face plants. He's disheveled because he's been in there since 3. He's wrestled everybody. He's been disheveled. He rolls over, and then the freaking bagpipes hit, and here comes Rowdy Piper. And Ric Flair and Rowdy Piper in real life were best friends. And Rowdy Piper gets in there, puts Rick in the corner, and just beats the shit out of him. And Flair again does the walk and fucking face plants, throws him over the ropes. He does like gets over but rolls back on. I mean, just great spot in that match. And he wins the Rumble because Psycho Sid throws Hogan out. Everybody thinks, oh, Hogan's going to come in. He won 90 and 91. Hogan won. So this is 92 now. Hogan comes in 28 or whatever it is. Psycho Sid throws him over, and Hogan and Sid are going after it. Flair just comes up, crotches Psycho Sid, throws him over the ropes to win. And then what's significant about it was that there was a vacant title at that point. So by winning the Royal Rumble, he became the champion.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I remember that.
In story, and what happened in real life was in 91, Flair got into an argument with the heads at WCW, called Vince and said, I'm coming. And Vince is like, okay, great. And Flair goes, I got the title. So Flair went on to WWF TV with the WCW title in 1991, claiming he was the real world champion. And at the time, I believe Hogan was the champ. So then they had like the Hogan Flair. Then they had Taker beat Hogan for the title, but then Hogan cheated to get it back. So then they vacated the title. And then that's when they put the Royal Rumble, the winner of the Royal Rumble was going to win the title. And then the next year is when they went, whoever wins the Royal Rumble gets a title shot at WrestleMania.
Wow.
So this was like pre that whole
early days of the Rumble.
And just that to this day, to me, that's one of the best Royal Rumbles ever. Well, for me, it's the best one ever. But again, that's like the wheelhouse of all my guys, you know?
My number 2, TLC 2, WrestleMania X7. I mean, you talk about 6 of my all-time guys in one match, getting after it, doing what they made.
Hold on, we're on 3.
No, I did my 3.
Oh, you started.
I started.
Right. So what you have? Go ahead, say it again.
It's TLC 2.
Okay.
WrestleMania
So
X7.
there you go.
ENC, Edge and Christian, the Hardy Boys, the Dudley Boys.
All-Star Wrestling, right?
No, well, Bubba Ray and Devon don't even do business together anymore.
Oh, okay.
They're not like cool.
Well, no, Devon's an agent for WWE now, isn't he?
Devon is, yeah. And
Bubba's just doing the podcast.
Bubba's just doing that's on Sirius XM Radio. Busted Open.
Yeah.
And they have a wrestling school, but I think they like own it together, but they don't do dealing. I think Devon runs the wrestling school, and Bully Ray just kind of collects money at this point.
Gotcha.
There's also my 2, just so we can.
This is your number 2 as well. So I mean, you got hit on anything that I don't get. The spot, obviously, the spear when Hardy's hanging on to the ladder gets kicked out. He's hanging on to the belts.
Is that the spot of the match?
Well, there's that, and then you got Hardy off of the big 24-foot ladder
Onto the ladder.
Swanton.
Right, onto the ladder.
I'm thinking of the table spot.
How about Bubba and Matt Hardy when they get
Bubba
pushed over? They're both on the ladders reaching for the title, and then I think Christian or Edge, one of them, pushes both ladders, and they go out of the ring through
the tables.
That spot to me is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then Lita gets involved. Spike Dudley gets involved.
Lita gets involved. Spike Dudley gets involved, and
Rhino. That's just. I mean,
didn't Rhino carry him up the ladder?
Yeah.
Put him on the shoulders and carried him up the ladder, right?
I think. It's weird to say. Is it safe to say that changed the way tag team spots were done? Did that change it? I mean, you saw how many things in a ladder match that match that you hadn't seen before.
The previous year they had the at WrestleMania 2000 they did the triangle. It was a ladder match, but they obviously had tables. Did a lot of the similar spots, and then SummerSlam, because I think that was TLC 2, and then SummerSlam was TLC 3.
Okay,
maybe yeah.
Or was it SummerSlam was TLC 1?
I thought SummerSlam was TLC 1
because they did the ladder match at WrestleMania. It wasn't a TLC match, but it turned into a TLC match.
It was just a ladder match.
And then TLC 1 was SummerSlam, and then TLC 2 was WrestleMania. Is that how it laid out?
I believe so. I'm almost positive, actually, now
Yeah.
that I think about it.
Yeah.
Real quick, just because I thought about it now, don't want to waste too much time. WrestleMania 23, Punk was in that Money in the Bank ladder match, and he took a twist of fate from Matt off the top of the
Yeah.
fucking
Yes.
ladder.
Yep.
Monstrous spot.
Yeah.
But yeah, TLC 2, to answer your question, I don't know. It definitely changed the way the ladder. I mean, it set a new bar for the ladder match.
I mean, it set a new bar for a lot of things.
Unfortunately for these 6 guys' legacy and their legacy as tag team wrestlers and as ladder match wrestlers and as TLC wrestlers, the TLC pay-per-view is one of the worst gimmick match pay-per-views of the history
Well,
of
yeah.
gimmick match pay-per-views, and they've kind of ruined it a little bit.
If I had to make a top 10 list of tag teams, all these guys would make the top 10 for sure. These 3 teams would make the top 10. My top 10 for sure.
I mean, they have to.
Would they make my top 5? I don't know. I'd have to really think about it. But
I mean, 3D for me might be number 1. Team 3D, the Dudley Boys.
And that's so crazy because I would put them last on, on the list of these of Edge and Christian.
If you're just looking at WWE, WWF success, though, you talk about the Dudleys were ECW tag team champs. They were 4 or 5-time TNA tag team champions. They were Ring of Honor tag team champions. They were new IWGP heavyweight tag team champions.
Well, how about
they were all over the world. They're the most decorated tag team ever.
As a tag team, they were the top heels in ECW.
Yeah.
As a tag team.
And people forget there was a whole Dudley family.
Yeah, you had Big Dick Dudley.
Yeah.
You had,
the whole deal was that
Joel Gertner used to wear the fucking, he had the
Big Daddy Dudley fucking had illegitimate children in every town they visited, and they were all that's why Devon was black, because it was just Big Daddy.
That's how they made that work.
Yeah.
Big Daddy Dudley just hooked up with everybody.
That's what I'm saying. For me, compared to you guys, I'm much more WWE
of course,
centric than you guys. You know what I mean? So I look at the Dudley Boys at just their run in WWE.
Well, don't get it wrong. Like I'm a wealth of wrestling history, and my main focus has always been WWE. I started with WWE. I still watch WWE to this day, but now I'm more of an AEW guy currently because it's a better product. And in the '90s, I was a WCW guy because Hogan went to WCW, so I had to change over.
I was always a WWE guy. I was never a WCW guy as a kid because I didn't really understand what the deal was.
2001 it went out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, as early as 05, 06, 07, first of all, obviously, like I said, my guys went over there.
Right.
But even at that point, when I was in high school, this is the start of the PG era, and I was thirsty for another company to watch. Right. So TNA, I watched wrestling 4 or 5. I watched Monday Night Raw. Tuesday night was ECW. WWE rebrand ECW. Wednesday was off. Thursday night was Impact. And then Friday was SmackDown, if I wanted to watch it.
Right.
But it wasn't until recently where I'm just so done with WWE. And especially I'm not paying them $10 a month for the nonsense. I don't even watch it.
I would say 99% of wrestling fans' introduction from, let's say, 1985 to now, their introduction to wrestling is WWE. Right. when you think when I was a kid, I'm gonna you would be watching any kind of wrestling, whether it was AWA or WCW or anything that was still around. You would say, "Oh, I'm gonna go watch WWF," whether it was WWF or not. It's like the name brand.
It's just what it is.
Q-tips, Kleenex, Clorox.
Right, and then they did a good job of doing that. They built that up.
That was VKM's big plan.
Well, he took it out of the territories and made it a global wrestling promotion. So,
and also early on in that 2005 year, at least for sure, Dusty was calling a lot of the shots. So that's why we had such great matches early on. Yeah. I think because Dusty, one of the greatest promoters ever to do it, bookers.
Well, he was a booker, not a promoter. All right, so we're up to number 2.
You're number 2.
Number 2, Hogan Rock WrestleMania 18.
It's very good.
I mean, just what can you say about it? I mean, it's the greatest of one generation and the greatest of another generation coming together to have just a classic. And the way, what Vince wanted did not happen in that match. Vince wanted The Rock to come out, be the babyface. He wanted Hogan to be the heel. And the fans turned Hogan that night. They went from being, coming out as the NWO. He smashed The Rock with a truck. He broke a cinder block over Austin's leg. I mean, he was the heel. And just the crowd reaction alone for that match is just...
I picture that still.
Yeah. I mean, they had
Were we the same or no?
No.
All right.
They didn't touch for the first 4 minutes of that match, and the crowd is just Hogan,
right.
Rocky. It's just incredible. And this is the story they told in that match of, the old veteran coming in against like the young lion and the young lion going over. Just phenomenal. Just,
I agree with you. Number one.
My number one non-pay-per-view match. Jeff Hardy, young Jeff Hardy, challenges the American Badass Undertaker for the WWF Undisputed Championship in a ladder match on Monday Night Raw. Widely panned as one of the best American Badass Taker matches. Widely panned as Jeff Hardy's great. I mean, this is the match that put him on the map as a singles competitor. Matt already competing singles. They'd split. He's the V1 Matt, version 1 Matt on SmackDown now. They've separated themselves.
I think it took place. It's 2002.
2002.
Right? Yeah, so in between the two WrestleManias, and it was Jeff Hardy's coming out party.
And I mean, this if had he just accepted that rehab a few months later, his career, we could be talking about Jeff Hardy's career completely differently right now.
Who knows what could happen?
Who knows? I mean, and he did go on to do his things, but after he got fired shortly after this match, and I believe late 2003, 2004, it just kind of, I mean, and great career. He's had a great career for what it was, but, he had his demons, and everyone has to deal with what they have to deal with. But this match, and then you want to talk about, like, emotional, not tear-jerking, but, like, moments that grab you. Taker, you can't break me. Or that, and then Taker comes back to the ring, and you're like, oh, that's it.
He put him over.
He's going to fucking tombstone him, and then he puts him over.
Right.
Yeah. That is, without a doubt, honorable mention.
And I think Hardy earned Mark Calloway's respect that night.
I think he earned everybody's respect. It's unfortunate that he couldn't get himself under control because who knows, the sky was the limit at that point. He was the better athlete.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to go down as a 3-time champion. I doubt he gets another one with Vince before he leaves, even though he said he wants to wrestle Roman. You saw that?
Yeah.
But he's going to go down as a 3-time champion.
Everybody wants to wrestle Roman, dude. Like,
obviously, yeah.
Top of the food chain.
Yeah, exactly.
I think he could still go. I think he could him and Roman could put on a good match.
Yeah, but it's just, again, you got to get him hot to get him in there.
He needs to come over to AEW.
He'll finish there.
What's he going to do there, though?
He'll finish there. Him and Matt will team up one more time.
They'll do the Nero.
Yeah, they'll do whatever they want.
Nero broken Matt Hardy thing, and I think we'll get one more shot at Willow.
Okay.
But we'll get into that.
I would say
good choice for number one.
Yeah, I would say for a non-pay-per-view match too, right? That's as good.
It was a ladder match, wasn't it?
It was ladder match. That's as good as it gets, man. That's as good as it gets.
That was in that era when Raw was having monster matches because they had that Ric Flair Triple H title match. There was a Kane and RVD match was very good. There was like a bunch of like that time period of Raw is very underrated. I mean, they also did the freaking thing with Kane's girlfriend in the casket, Triple H going in the casket, which was like
they had a bunch of gimmicky
Vick, right?
things,
Katie Vick or whatever it was. It's just like
it was around the same time that they did the Stephanie Stalker thing, right? Or was that came a few years later?
That was earlier, I think.
Earlier,
yeah.
My number one, I don't even like Shawn Michaels to me. Obviously, great, as good as he was, as great as he was. I never viewed him as like one of my favorites personally, and yet out of my 5 matches, he's on it twice. So whatever. I got Michaels, Taker,
25 or 26,
25. So
25 is great. 26 for me, not I'm not. Just, 26 for me, a little bit better.
Why do you say that?
More stakes because you had the retirement aspect of it.
Yeah.
And just like the Shawn Michaels coming out and doing this and then slapping Taker, just awesome.
All right. So, I hear you.
Arguably the best Tombstone Taker's ever delivered.
It's 26.
WrestleMania 26. Because he does like a jump on it and like but you knew
that original Tombstone was crazy though.
Yeah.
In the day.
Yeah.
And that's the one, 26 is the one where he kicks out of the Tombstone.
He kicked out of the Tombstone.
And Taker
that's when
had his tongue out and
he
falls to the side.
Yeah. And
that is iconic.
That's when he got up and he did like the very he's like broken, but he did the DX and then he slapped Taker.
Yeah.
That's when Taker.
So the storytelling aspect, 26 probably, but
a lot of people, most people would probably pick 20.
Yeah.
For me, 26 was just a little bit better. Mm-hmm. I remember 25 is what got me to get 26.
All right. You got to get,
right, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's like 25 is phenomenal. I mean, 25, it doesn't really get much better.
It's great. It's crazy when you guys say it and you're going down your list. I'm like, oh my God, I forgot about that one. I would have, like, how could I not? And then
everything on my list is my heart. Like, that's not like, like there's some things on here that are considered the best of whatever, but like this is the ones that had the most either emotional or just like I loved it or what,
Right.
or it might not even be like some of the events that I picked were watching it with my like AEW. We got the first AEW pay-per-view in my house. It was Memorial Day weekend. I remember Jamie was out. We ordered pizza. It was just like a cool, like we were hanging out.
Yeah, we got a little banged up.
Yeah, it was just fun, Like stayed awake for the whole thing. Moxley coming out at the end. It just was like a cool, again, not the best pay-per-view you ever saw, but just everything around it was just awesome.
Right.
92 Royal Rumble. Yes, it's considered one of the best Royal Rumbles, but like that was the first pay-per-view I got to have all my friends come over and my dad busting all of our chops and just like this everything surrounding. So that's why I picked my list. Because
Right.
Like,
Well, what's your number one?
Number one is Hogan and Andre. I mean,
Hogan Andre WrestleMania 3.
Hogan Andre WrestleMania 3. To me, it's the perfect wrestling match. You had these two guys who had been best friends. They go into the famous Piper's Pit where Bobby Heenan, who was the considered the greatest manager of all time, but a heel manager, comes out with Andre, who had been a huge baby face, and Andre challenging Hogan and ripping the cross, and the cross cut Hogan's chest, and he had the blood running down, and and you're in front of 93,000 people, and Andre at that point had been, I think, 15 or 20 years undefeated, hadn't lost a match in 15 or 20 years. And, Hogan going into the match didn't know if Andre was going to do business,
Right, that was the big thing.
If Andre wanted to, Andre could beat anybody, it's Andre.
Yeah, just make you take the pin.
And
yeah, exactly.
Just the way the match starts with Hogan going for the body slam right at the he's hulking up at the beginning of the match, and he goes for the body slam. Andre falls on top of him. Was it a 2 count? Was it a 3 count? And the referee's going 2. You watch Bobby Heenan in that match. If you want to be a manager, you watch Bobby Heenan at WrestleMania 3, just screaming at Andre, finish him. What are you doing? Finish him. And Andre, for majority of the match, is toying with Hogan, body slamming him, manhandling Hogan, which nobody had been able to do. And then for Hogan to come back, he knocks him down. They both get back up, picks him up, body slam, drops the leg. Just classic wrestling.
As iconic as it gets.
And even as a kid to this day, it's still, to me, the perfect wrestling match.
Probably the most important match in the history of the business.
Of the history of WWF. Not in the history of the business, but in the history of WWF. You could argue Harley Race, Ric Flair, Starrcade number 1.
But you could argue where's the business at today if WWF didn't succeed the way they did, right?
Well, it might still be in the territories at that point. More local, not as much national exposure. So this was... WrestleMania was the gamble that Vince took, that he bet the farm on. WrestleMania 2 was a success, but not as big. So he had to have a success with WrestleMania 3.
Yeah.
And to fill that stadium. I mean, 93,000 people is no small feat.
No matter what. No matter what era you choose, 93,000 people getting in the stadium.
So, today they're considering the Grand Slam 21,000 people. That's like a miracle that they were able to put that together, AEW. And this was 93,000 people,
right.
Not in a big market. You're talking Detroit, Michigan, a downtrodden, worn out area of the country. You know what I mean? And he put 93,000 people in that building.
Right. Yeah.
And to me, it's like the main event of main events.
You want to go straight to the
top 5 guys?
Top 5.
My number 5, Jon Moxley / Dean Ambrose. From day one of the Shield, this guy was the best out of the 3 of them.
I couldn't agree more.
He's one of the best on the stick in the game right now. He could sell you on a match between Santa Claus and fucking the Easter Bunny, dude. He doesn't need anyone to help him. He's a great storyteller in the ring. The lengths he's willing to go for this business. He's about this fucking life.
Yes, he is.
He's not about anything else. He's about the pro wrestling life. He will do anything to tell the story he needs to tell in the ring, including taking the Nick Gage pizza cutter.
Across the mouth.
Across the mouth. You ever seen that?
No.
Nick Gage took the pizza cutter and stuck it inside his mouth and sliced.
Tried to give him the Joker smile.
And he's Moxley talking about that in the Dark Side of the Ring episode. Said he's like, I was like, this motherfucker cut my tongue out.
Yep.
It's like, this motherfucker just cut my tongue out. I can't believe it. Multiple time CZW Tournament of Death participant, has taken Sawzalls to the skull in the Tournament of Death.
Mm-hmm.
He's fucked up, this guy.
He's like he's been my current favorite for a while. I mean, since AEW opened, that whole world has changed. I don't even know. I'd have to sit down and tell you who my current guy of guys is. Might be MJF.
Gotta be MJF.
But definitely in that run, he was my guy in WWE, in my adult life.
MJF might be on my top 10 all time.
When it's all he's only 24, dude.
Yeah,
When it's all said and done,
if he stays healthy, I think.
and as long as he wants to keep doing it,
That guy-
you got to want to do it.
Sky is the limit for that guy. Sky is the limit.
No, he is. He's good. He's as good as it gets. All right, I'm gonna ruffle the feathers here. Okay, number 5, Charlotte Flair.
Oh my! I mean, I don't hate it.
Yeah,
I didn't put any women on this list. 'Cause I just
have
no.
one, and it's Charlotte Flair. You want to talk about China and what China did for, I guess we'll call it women, even though she really didn't put anybody over. She really didn't help create.
China
future
didn't really do
stars.
much of anything for anyone but China, dude.
China's not even in the top 5 women's wrestlers for me.
We just tend to talk nice about China because she had a tragic end.
Well,
and,
no,
like,
but it's but at the time,
at the time she did everything for herself, dude.
So I don't really need to say. There's a million things I could say about Charlotte Flair, right? I understand that lately there's been backstage beef with her.
I bet you she winds up in AEW.
Her husband's over there.
Yeah, and
or fiance.
husband.
Andrade, yeah, they got married.
Oh,
and that, and I feel like, with Flair now, right? Flair's not working in WWE right now, right?
Nope.
Right, so
She's got no ties there.
Right, no ties left there, and I feel like her and Becky had that kind of fallen out recently. So anyway, I don't think it's a stretch to say that she's the best women's worker ever. Probably.
No, she is.
It's hard to argue. I mean, Trish has got to be in that conversation.
I truly thought, I said I was going to put one woman on here, and I truly thought it was going to be Trish, because if Trish wrestled in her prime in this era right here, she would have taken over. I believe.
Here's the thing, though. Medusa might be better than all of them. You know, Alundra Blaze, like Medusa,
Mm-hmm.
whatever you want to call it. But the women up until like when Trish and Lita came out, where Trish and Lita were tearing it up, like they got no time. They got no. Like Moolah, Mae Young, like they might be in the conversation, but we didn't see them. And again, like there, Wendy Richter, like there's a lot of women that even Ivory is considered one of the best female workers of all time, but she never had her due.
I would give one woman a shout give Divas a chance, and that's Trish Stratus. I mean, Lita maybe, but I can't do it.
Lita had,
because I just feel like everyone
from
this Give the Divas a Chance movement, like Sasha Banks, little small, that's not her fault.
Yeah,
Sasha's amazing, better than most of those women.
Yeah,
Charlotte obviously, Becky obviously, Bayley not for me, but you can't really.
Bayley's not for me.
She's not for me, but you can't deny her. But who is for me, and it sucks that her career ended the way it did. Paige, I think. I mean, if Paige never broke her neck and had a problem, even with her problems with Alberto Del Rio, she made it out of that, and then she broke her neck twice or whatever it was.
I don't know.
Underrated too is AJ.
AJ was another one who was phenomenal. Small though,
right,
small. Yeah, I just feel like from every aspect of what you look for in a superstar, like Charlotte could talk with the best of them. She's a great heel. She has the flair. Obviously, this is going to be quote unquote. She has the flair, right? So she has the bloodline. Like it's there. Everything is there.
She has the athleticism.
Yeah, she's an athletic freak.
She's a Division I volleyball player.
Yeah, she is a genetic freak.
So, that's why I put her at 5.
I think she could be a little rigid on the stick, personally, but I don't know if that's her.
No,
fault.
I think her arrogance. I think her
fault.
arrogance and the way she can present. You don't always have to be perfect. You know what I mean? Like Ambrose is in that upper echelon. MJF. I put the Miz very high up on talkers. You don't have to be perfect when you're arrogant. You don't have to be perfect when you're. I don't know. How many times has she won the women's championship?
She's like 11 or something.
Right.
Like
so
yeah.
when you're
for Rick before, she'll break 16.
Yeah.
Not in WWE, probably not.
No, she will, because even if she leaves, she'll come back eventually. Make no mistake, majority of the guys who leave and go to AEW are coming back.
Yeah.
Danielson's Punk's not going to, but a lot of these guys are going to come back.
Yeah.
Because the money eventually is going to be too big, and AEW can't keep everybody.
Right, and that's the thing that we talked about, but that should be a whole different episode.
Yeah.
What's going to happen when these contracts end at AEW, and then Vince says, "Hey, here's a boatload of money because I got to get something back."
Charlotte's a good choice, though. I think Charlotte's definitely.
Let's hear your number 5.
Number 5, I got the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. Bret Hart.
Like it?
1 through 3 for me is locked in forever. Like, will never change. My top 3.
And they're not going to be ours.
But after that, it's like, it's very hard to choose. And then I'm sitting thinking the other night, and I'm like, who would be if I had to nail it down? And Bret Hart is just, I remember Bret Hart as a tag team wrestler. He was the Hart Foundation with Jim Neidhart. And every match they had was great. And then you look at Bret's career, and he's got match after, like, even on my top 10 list, I mean, Bret's on there I think 3 times. He's just
a worker.
you can take, not for everybody, but the 60-man Iron Man with him and Shawn Michaels. You could take him and Owen at WrestleMania 10. You could take, and just he was everything. He had great look about him. He wasn't huge, but he wasn't small. He had great look. He had a very long career in the WWE. He just match after match was just great. I met him. He's a great guy. And just it was hard not to put him on the top 5 because he's just when Hogan left, he was the guy.
No, I see it. I get it. I do.
And I wasn't a WWF guy at that. I mean, I was watching, but it was like Hogan had left, and I'm like, what am I going to do? And he came into it, and
Brett was Fuzz's guy, right?
Brett was my brother's guy, yeah. Brett and Shawn were like, and Brett probably more than Shawn because Brett was the guy. So like that's part of it too because he was my brother's guy. My brother loved Bret Hart, you know what I mean? And like we had the WWF Raw game, and I was always Taker, and he was always Bret. I was just like, we do the Royal Rumbles and the Survivor Series matches, and he would get pissed if I would pick Bret like on my Survivor Series team. No, I gotta have, you know what I mean? Because that was his guy. So
my number 4, Phil Brooks, CM Punk. I hear you right away, and I see you, and I understand.
No
I get
good?
it. Look,
no good.
here's my thing.
Ever? I mean,
He's mine.
I understand.
It's mine.
I understand. Yours.
It's not my list of the best ever. It's my favorite. Punk at a time was the guy when Cena was doing his fucking version of the Dwayne. I'm coming, I'm going, I'm coming, I'm going. Ultimate yes man, ultimate company guy. Great on the stick, great in the ring. I'm not going to sit here and everyone knows what, he took his ball and he left, whatever. Without Punk, there's no Daniel Bryan. There's no Adam Cole. There's no Kenny Omega. There's no Johnny Gargano. There's no any of these undersized guys who aren't super ripped up, who are king of the indies that make it big time. Punk is the guy who kicked the door down.
I just got to stop you there. Shawn and Bret kind of did that before them.
Yeah, but like the indie guy, not necessarily
Okay.
the small guy, but
Okay.
like the small super indie, king of
Gotcha.
the indies, super wrestler.
Agreed.
Because we know Vince isn't into the super wrestling. He
No.
wants sports entertainers. He wants strike. You have 3 or 4 big spots, and the match is going to end with 5 of your number 1 finisher.
Right.
These guys are coming from Ring of Honor and New Japan Pro Wrestling and, the Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, where it's a different style of wrestling where you don't need to be 270 pounds to be a threat.
Right.
So I think as far as making it into the mainstream, making it with Vince, is there a better NXT champion in the history of NXT than Adam Cole? I mean, it's close, but he's in the top 3.
Balor.
Balor.
Yeah. Well, okay, Balor's another guy that's not there without Punk.
Yeah.
205 pounds.
I'm just saying, as an NXT champ, Balor, and then maybe Nakamura. Because Nakamura was over like Rover.
Nakamura is another guy that is on that list of guys that never made it.
He's not tremendous either. He's a little taller, right? But he's not.
He's a little taller, but
he's
he's
not-
not that big. But he's also the king of the Japan Super Indies.
Yeah.
And that's not someone that Vince was really interested in
Well,
pre-Punk.
New Japan is not a super indie. New Japan's a legitimate.
Well,
promotion.
yeah, especially at this point.
All of Japan is kind of a super indie, but New Japan is a legitimate program. You know what I mean? And here's what I'll say about Punk. Punk from 2000, I want to say 7 until 2011, or maybe even past that, maybe 2012. Nobody had a better match than Punk on WWE TV in that time period. I mean, consistently the best match on the card every single time he was out there. I mean, it's arguable.
If
but-
we're going by, who pulled
And
the heartstrings.
obviously the pipe bomb.
Right.
Yeah, the pipe bomb, yeah. If we're going by who pulled the heartstrings, I could see how Punk's in there. I just wouldn't put him in my top 5 all time. But if you're going by your top, my top 5, not the generic polls top 5, I could see it.
Part of, I think, what grabbed me with Punk, when he came on as the ECW original New Brood, right?
Yeah.
In like 06,
Yeah.
07, something like that. So I would have been around 14. He stood out
Yeah.
from everybody else because he was different.
He was
because
different.
everybody was so cookie cutter at this point. And this guy comes out and he does a lot of the BJJ inspired moves, a lot of the Muay Thai inspired moves, and the GTS.
You know who
The GTS is a sick finish.
Heyman is really responsible for him.
Oh yeah.
Because for years Heyman was like, you got to get this guy Punk. He's the guy. You got to get him. And Vince kept saying, no, he's too small. He's got tattoos. He's got because at the time he was
Right?
bleach blonde in his hair. Like he was like not a traditional looking Vince guy. Not the 6'5".
He never was, and he still wasn't.
Yeah.
Isn't. But he's the best. He's one of the best guys on AEW. When we walk through the door, he's one of the best guys in AEW.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know.
Yeah, still, yeah. Number 4, we got John Cena. Again, a lot of flack's going to be given out in these top two.
Oh my
Let me
Lord.
explain to you. I
Five
don't know
Moves
what.
to Doom?
No. Before all that, when I don't know what documentary it was in. Maybe you guys can help me out. Maybe you saw it, where he talks about how he was getting cut. He was done for. He was getting cut
As the prototype?
Yeah.
You talk about
Yeah.
one of the Cena documentaries, like My Life, John Cena, or like one of those.
No, it was more of a
Like a 20. No, it wouldn't have been 24.
Well, I'll tell you what he says. So they're on the bus and he's freestyling on the back of the bus. They're all Mysterio is freestyling with a few other guys in the back. So he jumps into the back and he's like, I'm going to freestyle. And he goes off the cuff. I'm just freestyling and I'm just trying it for the first time ever. And Stephanie McMahon is in the front of the bus. And Stephanie had told me that at the end of the month, I'm going to be cut. I'm going to be released from the contract. So there's 2 shows left. And then I know, all right, my time's up here. It didn't work out. And they gave me every opportunity in the book, and I blew it. So I'm freestyling on the back. And she comes to the back and she goes, that's pretty good. Can you do that tonight on Raw? And he was like, yeah, just give me the chance. And he went out there and he goes, and I went off the cuff for the first time freestyling on the back of the bus, and I gave it a shot. And the Doctor of Thugonomics was born. And for that run, that part of his run, now obviously, 5 moves.
Super Cena.
Yeah, Super Cena, the whole 9, everybody, But for that first half, for that first part, I mean, that was pretty magical. That was pretty lightning in a bottle. Him going over on the Big Show to win the U.S. Championship, right?
I was in the building for that, and he got
It's WrestleMania
by far,
20, right?
Yeah, WrestleMania 20 by far one of the loudest pops of the night.
Okay, so
I'm surprised
they-
that wasn't on your list.
What, the
20.
WrestleMania 20? 20.
You and your brother went. It's a big moment for you too.
It's on the top 10 because I was there. Not one of my favorite wrestling shows.
Mhm.
Like,
obviously being there amps up everything. It changes,
I mean, you're not going to pass up an opportunity to go to WrestleMania, and I was given the opportunity. I was going to watch it on pay-per-view. I was happy to watch it on pay-per-view. I wasn't thrilled with the card at the time.
Mhm.
I mean, looking back on it, great card, great show, but it's not one of my favorite events. You know what I mean? Like, loved going to it. Loved one of the best things I've ever done live, but not one of my favorite wrestling events. Like, I didn't walk out of that show with like the warm and fuzzies like I have with the other shows on my list. Like that show, it was good. I had a lot of fun. It was awesome.
And again, if you could say that Hulk carried that generation, and then you say Stone Cold and The Rock carried that generation, you can't say that Cena didn't carry this generation.
Cena and Orton and Triple H.
Yeah, you can't say that didn't happen. You know what I mean? And Triple H really, he spanned multiple generations, so that's the thing.
There's a point in like 06, 07, and you can feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but Monday Night Raw was essentially carried by Randy Orton and John Cena
100%.
Yeah,
for like a good 18-month run.
Like once it was Batista was kind of in and out, but it was Orton and Cena were like.
Well, Batista was always doing the movie thing.
Yeah.
Even back then, he was doing the WWE films. Yeah. He was always taking time off to go shoot.
Edge is on that list too, though.
Oh yeah,
because you had Triple H, Taker, Shawn were like the vets, and then you had because like Vince was at that time was trying to push Lashley more than anybody. I feel like I think Lashley was kind of on the come up, and Cena and Orton were like the mainstays. Like they were going to be there, they were going to be on every card. They were kind of flip flopping the title. But I see you can't be mad at a Cena.
No,
I mean,
what do you got for 4?
Taker.
Love it. I love that.
I thought they were all dead. I thought everybody on your list was dead.
No, I said three of them. Well, no, 2
so
of them,
far, both of them are alive.
2 of them are dead. 3 are all still alive, and one's like kind of holding on.
Rick?
No, he's like on the cusp of making the list, but he didn't. He was my dad's favorite, so it's like hard for me to pick him as my favorite.
Gotcha.
But Taker, I mean, what can I say about Taker? I was there the night he debuted. Not there, but I watched live the night he debuted on Survivor Series, and he was awesome. One of the first guys to just like flat out beat Hogan in that era. And then just, I mean, what could I say that
you could pull, you could do a whole hour segment on Undertaker. So Taker, I understand.
When Hogan left, everybody gravitated towards Brett and Shawn, and I gravitated towards Taker. Like Taker was the guy that I liked. It was Diesel and Razor too. Like those were the 3 guys. I like Diesel, Razor, and Taker, where most guys were like Razor, Brett, and Shawn. But Taker was like the guy. And just, his longevity, his consistency. WrestleMania 20, that was my favorite moment of the night when he came back from America. He was the American Badass. He came back as the Dead Man Taker. Mm-hmm. And I remember the chill that I got through my body when Paul Bearer got on the mic. He was like, oh, yes. this? And I was like, oh, here he is, and it was,
Do you have Taker in your list?
No.
Okay.
I said all my guys are active still.
He's on my list, so
I had to put him on there. I had to put Taker on there. Just, he's on two of my top 10 matches, I think, or at least one of my top 10.
No, it's no one could complain about that pick.
Yeah.
Coming in at my number 3, I think when it's all said and done, this guy is my GOAT. My personal GOAT.
Here we go. Say it.
Y2J, Chris Jericho. The man has been a main event level talent. He hasn't been at the main event the whole time, but he's been a main event level talent for 20 years now. He's been in the business for 30. Ever changing, understands the things that you need for longevity, understands what he needs to do for the business, not one of these guys that needs to get put over. I don't think he got the AEW belt because he wanted it. I think he got it because he knew it would legitimize the company.
I 100%
legitimize
agree.
the belt.
Yep.
He understood. He can make anything a chant, anything a meme. He, obviously they call him that, the demo god, whatever. I forgot the other nickname they gave him. But like the ability for him to get the bat over.
Right.
He could get anything over. He
The
got
list.
The list. The list became a character on the show. He did it as a joke. Ever changing across multiple companies, multiple characters. And the in-ring work is still great today, I think. Like, the guy still goes at 50 years old plus.
Let me ask you this. Does he make the list without the AEW run?
I think so.
Okay.
No AEW is still that little thing he did in New Japan, though. Like, Painmaker. As long as I still get the Painmaker, he's on the list.
I mean,
Because you got Lionheart, Chris Jericho. You got Y2J, Chris Jericho. You got Save Us, Jericho. You have the Painmaker. You have that little run he did between Save Us and leaving WWE. Then you get the Painmaker, and now you also
the best
have
friends with Kevin Owens.
the best friends with Kevin Owens, and now you have the two separate kind of versions of the same character we've seen.
Well, you got
with the Inner Circle.
the heel Jericho, and now the face Jericho. You got the heel beginning when he was wrestling like Moxley and Hangman, and
I think they're actually better as baby faces, to be completely honest with you.
well,
The Inner
they're
Circle.
like the cool heels more than they are babyface, right? Because like they still have heelish tactics, but they're
Yeah, but they're like that the match against the Men of the Year and American Top Team. They
the
were
faces.
the clear baby faces.
Yeah. No, I mean you can't argue Jared.
I mean, and even like to the simple shit like ever changing move sets. Like now, there's things he doesn't really finish people with the walls anymore.
No, you're right.
No,
he uses the elbow now.
Yeah, the what is that called?
The Judas effect.
Yeah.
And then but even the code breaker, which started out looking way more cool than it became.
Well, if he went back to WWE, his moveset would be the lion salt, the walls. I mean,
and the code breaker.
Mm-hmm. And then he'd do the Judas as like his finish or whatever.
Go ahead. Number 3.
Number 3, and this is where it gets weird because we're gonna have to get back to that. We're gonna have to get back to Jericho. Number 3, Undertaker. Everything that you said, basically in a nutshell. I mean, I think the best thing that ever happened to Undertaker was him becoming the American Badass.
100%.
For that, because it just never got. Even the Dead Man never got stale. You know what I mean?
Well, he evolved his character from day one. I mean, he started off as like this very. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember, but he came out like slower and
very slow and brooding.
And he started. Paul Bearer was not his first manager. Bruce Pritchard as Brother Love was his first manager, and he was paid by the $1 Million Man to join that Survivor Series team. And he was like the gray gloves with all the black,
the purple tie.
Well, no, purple didn't come till later. He was
really
gray for the first. I think until WrestleMania. I think WrestleMania 11. He wrestled Bundy. He was hurt for WrestleMania 10, and then he came back for 11, and he wrestled Bundy, and that was the purple gloves. But he also had that feud with Yokozuna at Survivor Series when all the heels buried him in the casket. Or maybe Survivor Series was I forget. But he had a match with Yokozuna at one of the big pay-per-views, lost, got buried. It was like a buried alive match. And then he came back as the purple. Then Mabel, who became Viscera, sat on his face, broke his orbital bone, and then he wore that Phantom of the Opera mask.
Oh, yeah.
And then he evolved into like the Bat, I don't know if you want to call it like the Bat Undertaker, where he would, he came down Survivor Series against Mick Foley, and he had like kind of looked like Batman a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Then he came back with the teardrop, and he was like that version, like the Ministry of Darkness version. So I mean, he
was ever changing,
constantly changing his character.
But little things, little nuances in his, but he didn't change his movesets or nothing.
He would always add.
I feel like when he became,
He added that the fucking go-go plotter, the modified go-go plotter in like 2011,
Which one is
the
that?
Hell's Gate,
Yeah,
the submission.
Yeah. Well, he didn't always do. I think the first time he did like the walk across the ropes was like 2 years after he debuted. You know what I mean? And then he added the top rope plancha. Then he added, like the chokes. He didn't do the choke slam for a long time either. He would just choke you. He would get in the ring and do he would get like, say he'd be wrestling Coco Beware. He'd get Coco Beware in the corner. It'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, and then he'd let the choke go. And then he'd put it back on 1, 2, 3, 4. So I mean, even his movesets have evolved.
and he was incredibly athletic too, just for everything that he
Yeah,
offered.
basketball player, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was a basketball player.
Yeah, I think he played. I want to say UNLV or something like that.
Yeah, he
Or
played
maybe
ball.
maybe Nash played.
He
UNLV,
played
I
college
forget.
ball somewhere for a little bit.
Yeah,
But that's my 3.
I mean, even that match against AJ, his last match against AJ.
Oh, they did a very good job.
He
with
wasn't the dead man. I mean, he was, but he was more of a biker character, and he wasn't really American Badass. He was kind of in between the American Badass and the dead
Yeah,
man. You know?
I had wished he was full on American Badass, and I think he would have been if COVID had not happened. But
Yeah.
I think that
With the Limp Bizkit.
but going out
Yeah.
on that note was like the way they did it was the absolute best way. I don't think that AJ and him could have had a better match in the ring.
That was perfect way for him to go out.
You know what I mean?
Especially on the bike at night.
Yeah.
like that.
AJ Styles could wrestle any kind of match that you need.
He can wrestle anybody.
Yeah.
Anybody, any style match, any pace, whatever you want to do, he could do it.
Yeah.
So you're number 3.
Number 3. So my top 3 has never changed since I'm 6 years old or whatever, 7 years old. It's always been the same top 3. So number 3, Macho Man Randy Savage.
Ooh, yeah.
I'm not gonna do it. Not gonna do it because everybody does it. Not gonna do it. Oh yeah. But the Macho Man, when I started watching, he was the Macho King, and he was like this ultimate heel. He had the Sensational Sherry as his manager, and at WrestleMania 7, he wrestled the Ultimate Warrior in a career match. Lost, so ended his career, and then that summer he got married to Miss Elizabeth, and then Jake the Snake put the snake in the box, and then he got reinstated. But he was it. His promos, like, you couldn't beat his freaking promos. I mean, just you watch that,
Ahead of his time.
You watch that cream.
Very coked up, very steroided out.
Not till later. Steroids were not till later.
Very coked up. When
When
he's in Bobby Heenan's face,
That's up
in
for debate.
in those backstage segments with not Bobby Heenan, Mean Gene, when he's back there like firing up, screaming, spitting on people, there's no doubt in my mind he's not on drugs.
from what I understand,
Everyone did cocaine in the 80s.
From what I understand, he was not a big drug guy because he was just that intense. You know what I mean? Like, he used to take, when he was married to Miss Elizabeth, he used to take her and lock her in a closet and say, "You're staying here," because he was nervous that if he was out at the ring and she was in the back, that one of the wrestlers was gonna like hit on her or something. But like I said, his promos were the best. He went to WCW at the later part of his career and had a year-long run with DDP that was just unreal. Like, just match after match. Changed his persona. He was a member of the NWO, then he was out of the NWO. When he came back after doing Spider-Man, and he did Spider-Man after, but before
He was
did
so fucking steroided out in Spider-Man, dude.
rocked
So
out.
big in Spider-Man.
when he had Gorgeous George.
You remember that?
as
I watched that
manager.
movie the other night. He is bigger than you remember.
Yes, ginormous.
He's Bonesaw at the beginning of the first Spider-Man movie when in the wrestling match, and when
Oh,
that's Macho.
yeah.
But he was also like at the time there was Hogan, and then there was Macho was 2. So Hogan was like the guy, and then Macho was the second guy. But Macho was like he was the heel. After him and Hogan had their friendship or whatever. So Macho, most of his career he was a heel, but he did have his baby run and whatever. But Macho's just yeah.
Real quick, let me just ask you, how do you feel about Black Machismo, Jay Lethal?
Love him.
I was hoping we were gonna get an ooh yeah when he was on AEW.
Well, they got Pomp and Circumstance to start his entrance music, but then it kind of kicks into whatever else.
When he was doing Black Machismo on TNA, amazing.
Or him and Nate with the woo off. I mean, that was
him and H doing the woo off.
Yeah, I think that was a I mean, he's there, right? He's like signed. He's there.
I thought it was a one-off.
Oh, was it a one off?
I'm not sure.
Okay. If it was, great.
Usually they're not signed until they post that picture on there
Yeah,
that says
they're
Jay
all-
Lethal is
No, but
all elite.
I think they did.
They did
Did
post
they?
the Jay Lethal is all elite.
Maybe he is signed.
He is signed.
TK kind of does the deal where he signs everybody to a 5 appearance contract and then we go from there most of the time. So we'll see. My number 2, AJ Styles, the phenomenal one. The guy outside of WWE for me for that like 05 to 2010 run. I mean, until when did he come over? Like 2015, 24?
Royal Rumble.
Well, we went to Royal Rumble 2015 and he didn't show up that year, so he showed up the next year,
16?
2016.
Yeah. He's been there 5 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk about a guy
He
that
needed that run. He needed a WWE run, I feel.
he did because there was nowhere else to work. If
He
AEW was around,
he needed
didn't need it.
worldwide notoriety.
If AEW was around 5 years ago, he
Yeah,
would've
but they're
never
not- they
needed to
weren't.
go there. Yeah, well, do you think he winds up there in AEW?
No.
I don't think he does because I think he's
happy. I think
he's
real
really
happy.
genuinely happy.
Yeah. Because he's the guy. I mean, he's the guy over there.
He's
But, like,
also
I don't
hasn't
like
he
what-
also wrestled a lot of the guys from AEW already, or hasn't he already had that run?
Well,
Yeah,
a
but
lot of them were
there's-
in Japan together.
Not obviously not MJF. He hasn't wrestled, right?
Right.
And
I mean, there's enough.
Sammy and
There's enough
yeah,
guys
but
for him to take.
Darby
over.
Allin.
There's enough of a lineage there where they could bring him in and like because he has a relationship with the Bucks and with
Yeah,
the Click.
I-
Because he was a Bullet Club leader at
Yeah.
one point.
I would avoid it honestly
So-
for both parties.
Well, he took over for Balor, right? Balor was like the original leader, and then he took over for
Like Balor was not the original leader. Balor was the second leader,
Oh.
and Styles was the third leader.
Yeah, but he took over. But
Yeah, he took over from Balor.
From-
Balor
yeah.
wasn't the original leader though.
Okay.
I forget it was one of the guys who.
like Okada or one of those.
Yeah,
guys.
one of them.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm not real familiar.
I'm not
with
real
New
up
Japan.
to on my New Japan either. But yeah, I mean, Styles wrestle any kind of match. Not great on the stick, but he's gotten better as time has gone on.
He had a flub in that him and Taker's feud when he's like, "I'm gonna kill you, Undertaker," and then he like stopped and he was like, "Not kill you, but I'm gonna bury you good," or what. I mean, like he still does that a little bit, which is like that's the only thing that prevents him from being like a 5-tool
Mhm.
Well,
player.
he's never had anyone hand him a script his entire career, and now you got Vince telling him,
Right.
"We'll say this." Now we're not saying that anymore. Now you got to say that.
right.
It's
right.
gonna be good shit. It's
Yeah.
gonna be good shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, AJ Styles. That's my
Number two, mine is Chris Jericho. And now I know we were in it before, and you asked the question, if he didn't have an AEW run, would he be on your list? And he would not be on the list. He wouldn't be in my top 5. But because he's been able to reinvent himself in now multiple companies, and it's not just AEW, I know, multiple companies, multiple personalities, multiple movesets, makes inanimate objects fucking characters. I mean, he's as good as he really is as good as it gets. And the number one guy on my list, I guess we'll get there, but they were around the same time. They were doing the same things. They were kind of carrying the product then, right? And the number one guy on my list left, and he never did. I know he left to do the Fozzy thing here and there, but he's always
every summer.
yeah, but he's always been like that mainstay for that with 30 years now, right? Can we say 30?
30 years in the ring. I mean, when did he start? WCW was probably
90s,
95,
late
96.
96, 97.
He
Yeah.
started in 91 though, so
He
he's 30
came
years.
out as like the Lionheart. He was like the baby, you know,
Mhm.
like this like baby face, and then he was like, what am I doing? And then he became the ultimate heel, and he had a program with Goldberg where they didn't wrestle a match. That one of the best programs in the history of WCW.
And they didn't wrestle.
They didn't wrestle because Bischoff didn't think he was good enough to get in the ring with Goldberg.
And I remember like the entrance for the Y2J
Yeah,
with the
Rock in the ring,
and the the vest with the glow up. When he debuted when
Oh,
they did
yeah.
The shiny vest that he wore, the Y2J when he showed up, they did the original
Yes.
countdown and he shows up. It's not the glow up vest, it's just the
It's
shiny
the-
vest
yes.
that he
Yeah.
had on.
like
yeah.
that silver jam. That,
Yeah. So that's why he's number 2 on my list. But like I said, if
That's
he
a
didn't go
great
to, if he
promo.
didn't go to AEW and he didn't do the Tokyo Dome, right?
yeah.
Yeah, Tokyo Dome.
If he
against,
didn't do that, I don't think he'd be there. Number 2.
Fair deal. My number 2 is Andre the Giant. It's a weird number 2.
So I know who number 1 is now for you.
Well, come on. But Andre, the reason he's one of my favorites, there was, he's in The Princess Bride when I was a kid. There was a movie that like my family used to watch. So obviously I just gravitated towards him. But for me, he was like the ultimate heel to Hogan. So Hogan was the babyface and Andre was like the ultimate heel. And that's, I didn't see it in person, but watched it on videotape. That whole run they had from like 87 to 89 was just, here's Hogan, the ultimate good guy. Here's Andre, the ultimate bad guy. So that's why they're,
Synonymous.
yeah.
I get it. Andre did a lot for the sport and he never had the title, right? He never had the title.
Never. Well, Technically, he had it for 30. What happened was they had the famous angle on Saturday night's main event, Hogan Andre 2, the rematch from WrestleMania. Excuse me. And at the time, the $1 Million Man paid him to be part of the $1 Million Man stable. Andre Hogan have the match. They do like the Earl Hebner and I forget what his brother what's Earl's brother's name? I can't remember. Earl and Dave Hebner was the brother, so they're twin brothers. So Dave gets in the ring, rolls out of the ring. Then Earl rolls in the ring, counts Hogan out, even though he had a shoulder up. Andre wins the title, hands it over to DiBiase. They vacate the title and go into the tournament at WrestleMania 4. But it's like one of the most famous angles in the history of, because the $1 Million Man paid Andre to beat Hogan, paid the ref cheat to get to beat Hogan, because
I have to look that up. I'm gonna have to look that up.
One of the Hebner brothers actually stole T-shirts and shit, right? Isn't that why he got fired?
Well, they were selling, like they were paying the guys to sell the T-shirts in the parking lot, and supposedly now the story is that they sold merchandise that was only given to WWE staff. They sold that merchandise.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that the rumor was that they were bootlegging shirts and selling them in the parking lots at the events, but then they were bootlegging the shirt that they got from, like, it was only given to WWE.
Only given to staff.
Right,
yeah.
so they knew.
But supposedly now the story has changed over the years, and now it's that they were selling them on eBay.
Whatever. It's still dirty.
Number 2.
No, it's my number 1.
Number 1.
I mean,
Drum roll.
We don't really need much of one. I think everybody in the room knows by now. He was on the match list 3 times. It's the charismatic enigma, Jeffrey Nero Hardy. For more than just his run in WWE, I was a big fan of the See You in the Future shit he was doing in TNA. Another guy who probably did much of his best singles work outside of WWE.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, Impact is really where, like, or the Impact Zone or whatever you want to call it. That's really where he did.
Soundstage 21 at Universal Studio.
Yeah.
Dude, I looked it up the other day because I was watching one of the 2005 pay-per-views. I'm like, what do you think, like, the total capacity of the Impact Zone was? Like, seating. How many seats?
Less than 2,000.
Yes.
Less than 2,000. Like
1,400.
Yeah.
1,400 people.
I was going to say 1,500.
Because I'm like, Jeff literally just came from doing 14,000 person arenas, and now he's in the Impact Zone with like a sold out crowd of 1,335.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it just goes back to, the Hardy Boys from day one. The man forged his fucking birth certificate and started at the WWF at 16 years old.
Yep.
He was 16, Matt was 18.
Doing jobs, and they came out looking like members of the Bee Gees. You remember that? Yeah.
Like with the straight up headbands and stuff. A lot like what the Bucks kind of look like.
I was just gonna say they look like the Bucks, yeah. Like that neon green outfit that they would wear.
Yeah. And I mean, like all the things we said about Punk. I mean, there's no Bucks without the Hardys. There's a lot of tag teams without the Hardys. There's a whole generation of wrestlers that came from what Matt and Jeff did.
Sure.
In WWE.
He frustrates
all
me,
over
Jeff.
the place.
He does.
Jeff frustrates me too, dude. It's just like it's the emotional tie. Like he was everyone's guy, and this is before the face paint. I mean, he did a little bit of the glow in the dark shit at WWE. It wasn't until TNA where he really started fucking around with the paint all the time.
The thing about Jeff that's interesting is that he didn't want it the way Matt wanted it. Matt always wanted it more like to be the wrestler, to be the guy, where Jeff never really wanted to be the wrestler or he wanted to be a wrestler, but not like Matt wanted it. And Jeff was the star of the two of them, was the bigger star of the two of them.
Yeah, well, because Jeff was willing to do more. Like, Jeff did the Swanton and Matt did leg drops.
Jeff was always cooler.
Jeff went off the 24-foot ladder, and Matt took the bump off the top of the third rope. Like, and that's the reason we love Jeff, too, is, the high-flying nonsense, the stuff you don't see. He said he was different than everyone else on the card, probably 90% of the time.
Yeah.
You would notice Jeff Hardy more than anybody else on a regular Monday Night Raw that they were on.
I just look back on it, and I can't, I honorable mention Jeff Hardy. Yeah, I mean, for a long time, he was my favorite. But, the what if for the whole WWE thing. And even then, you see the thing with Sting. Like, when Sting had to, force the cover on him because he was...
Because he was inebriated at Victory Road, yep.
Yeah, Scorpion Death dropped him and then covered him up.
I don't even think he was supposed to do the job that night, if we're being honest. I think he was supposed
to go over.
I think he was supposed to go over too, yeah. But so that alone, it's what if, man?
That was Victory Road, I believe, 2010, and then Victory, or 2009. The following year, him and Angle put on a fucking main event masterclass.
No, I get it.
It's frustrating. He's the most... Him and Big Show are the most frustrating people in the history not the history, but in my history of watching professional wrestling, the 28 years that I've been around the game, Big Show, because of no one's been booked fucking more flip-floppy. And, Big Show wasn't his fault.
No,
Hardy,
it's not his
Hardy
fault
it
at
was
all.
his fault in a
Yeah.
way because it was the drugs and the other things. And
Big Show's a sad story because they ruined, Vince ruined him. Just
Oh, yeah.
ruined him.
his booking was weak and just terrible.
WCW, they for the first 3 years he was there. Awesome booking. He was like this unbeatable monster. The only reason the way he got beat was when the NWO cheated to beat him. And then he joined the NWO because, like, what are you gonna do? You can't have this monster lurking around there, so you can't beat him. Might as well join him.
Right.
And just handled properly.
yeah.
I like the Big
That's
Show though.
the story with 99% of the guys who make it to the show who aren't a second or a third generational guy. All these guys have it. It's just a matter of how you handle them and how it's you. Like, I don't think Vince. Now, this is just me kind of talking out my ass a little bit. I don't think Vince feels like a responsibility to get guys over.
No.
And neither does Cena.
Well, he thinks it's your responsibility to get guys over?
He thinks it's you either have it or you don't. Like, Cena's the same way. You either know how to do this shit or you don't. There's no coaching. There's no teaching. There's no putting in better. Which is weird because you just told the whole deal with Cena almost on his way out before he started. Before Stephanie basically kept him around by having him do the dogs.
The Halloween Raw. They were all dressed up.
Yeah.
That was his first night there. Like one of his first nights rapping, where he was like, "Hey, here we go."
Right.
Like,
well, Vince's whole thing is we're giving you opportunity. We're not giving you guarantees, and like that's always been the way his business model. We're gonna give you this opportunity to get this character or get yourself over. Like, for instance, Terry Taylor. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Terry Taylor. He was a Southern wrestler. Vince hired him. And him and Mr. Perfect got hired at the same time, and they have like what they call the box of gimmicks, which was like in the 80s they would have, you're the chef and you're the construction worker and you're the
dentist.
Exactly.
Glenn Jacobs.
Right,
Mhm.
exactly. So they had these two characters. They had Mr. Perfect, who, Kurt Hennig took Mr. Perfect and turned it into what it was, like this guy who was just perfect at everything. And then they had the Red Rooster, who was supposed to be like, he's the cock of the walk. He's like this, because like when you're the main rooster in a chicken coop or whatever, a hen coop, whatever, you're like the leader and like the best, and you're gonna walk around and strut your stuff. And he took that as, Terry Taylor took that gimmick as, well, I'm a rooster. So he gave himself a red mohawk and he was doing this shit. And so again, it's like Vince said, here's your opportunities. Look what Kurt Hennig is widely considered as one of the greatest wrestlers of all time.
Look at all the stupid shit Cody did with the
Right.
mask and the mustache.
But he killed it.
He did every dumb thing they wanted him to do.
and he
to
did
the
a
best
good
of his
job.
Right.
The last thing I want to say about Jeff Hardy, and then we can move on to you, is the Willow thing. Good character. I like the idea. I like the execution. My problem with the Willow character, you cannot say that you're no longer Jeff Hardy and that you're now Willow. Even if, obviously, we know it's Jeff Hardy being consumed by this. You can't do a Twist of Fate. You can't do the Whisper in the Wind. You can't do the Swan. It's Jeff Hardy in a fucking black mask, dude.
Right.
You can't do it. It takes me out of it right away.
Well, that's, again,
Right away, it takes me out of the character change when your entire moveset is the same.
That's like back to Cody as Stardust. Look what Cody did different. He did the Crossroads was his finisher.
He changed a lot.
Everything else
the
was
way he
different.
wrestled.
Everything else was different. You know what I mean? So
And people probably don't give him enough credit. A lot of people probably don't.
Stardust was another stupid fucking thing that he did and did to the best of his ability.
right.
My number one, The Rock.
All right.
Yeah, well, it's going to be the same thing it's the same reasons and the same, and even for you, it's who you grew up watching.
So I don't have Stone Cold on there, and I don't have The Rock on there. I was always a Stone Cold guy over The Rock.
I was always a Rock guy.
The reason Stone Cold
Hence he's
doesn't
number
make
one.
this list for me, he's really a top guy for 5 years, and those 5 years are like 3 of those 5 are like my first 3 years kind of loosely watching wrestling. So as great as
fine.
he was, as awesome as it was, it wasn't that
I don't think
impactful.
there's a Raw or SmackDown or whatever. I mean, we can make the case that The Rock really invented Smack, like really
Yeah.
the reason why SmackDown exists, right?
Well, not the reason that SmackDown exists, but the reason it's called SmackDown.
Okay, all right.
Because like they were getting that TV time to get in that show, regardless of what they were
of,
gonna
yeah.
call it. You know what I mean?
So I just feel like every time The Rock's music hit, when he was on that, let's just say it's the same 5-year run that you're speaking about Stone Cold on.
like 96 to like
Right.
01.
I don't think there's a single episode where I was like, I I don't want to be that guy. Like every single time he came out and every single pop he got and everything he did. And even when he came back as Hollywood
I thought that was the best of the
Rock, again, reinventing himself, doing something different, singing the songs.
Yeah. That's my favorite Rock, the Hollywood Rock.
Elite character, right? I mean,
the guy can control a crowd.
Control a crowd like you can, like by his fingertips. Even now, he comes back.
He's got him right here.
Yeah, he comes back.
I'm right in the palm of his hand.
He's the ultimate 5-tool player.
100%.
He's got the best look. He can talk like nobody else. He's got, the move. He can wrestle his ass off. I mean, what can't The Rock do?
That's what I'm saying. So for me, it was just like, I look at this guy and I'm like, wow, I want to be just like this guy. And the only thing that stopped me from saying I want to be just like Jeff Hardy was all these issues that he had and all these problems that you like, and you later, of course, you found out later. You don't really know at a young age, right? Most of the time that what's going on.
We knew he was on drugs.
You knew, but you don't really know. You know what I mean? And then you look back on it, like when I got older, I look back on Jeff's problems, and then I look back on Matt's issues with Edge and Lita and all that whole thing that happened, like that real life thing that happened. And I'm like, wow, they really could have been so much better, but there was just so much that got in the way. And for The Rock, I feel like you want to talk about like the exact opposite of Jeff Hardy, where he took. Let me put it this way: was there a better case scenario life for The Rock?
No.
Like you take a situation and you make the absolute 100% best out of it, and that's what he did. So that's why he's number one for me.
Fucking playing on the same team as college football team as Warren Sapp is probably the best thing that ever happened to him. Because he said the day that he played with Warren Sapp, he knew he was never making it in the league.
Yeah. Well, didn't Warren Sapp replace him?
Warren Sapp also is a Hall of Famer, a bona fide Hall of Famer, almost one of the best ever.
But not when he was in college. And in college, if you play against, you think that you're league material, and then you play against a true freshman or a redshirt freshman, Warren Sapp, and he just picks you up and moves you, and you have that's when you understand, I'm good, but I'm not league good, No,
you have moments when you play sports that you realize, like,
this is where it goes.
But then it's like I was the kid that scored every point on my basketball team for like 4 years. And then got to junior high school and was like, I'm not like
West Hampton youth basketball still has the Christopher Johanson rule.
There's a rule in there for me.
When I was in really quick, when I was in college and playing baseball, I was pitching, and one of the first practices we did, freshman versus upperclassmen, and I struck out the 3-hitter on the team, and with a curveball, nasty, right? Got him looking, and I was like, wow, like. Maybe I'm better than I think I am. Like, oh shit, like, So he gets back up in the simulation, simulated play, and they had the bases loaded, like, and he gets up, and I get him 0-2. I throw him the same curveball I struck him out on, and he put the ball. It might still be gone. It was 9 years ago. It might still be gone. It definitely went 360, 370 over the fence, and then I lost it after that. Yep. And then I realized, wow, I'm not that good, and you're able to just quickly pick up on it. Throw it once, all right, you got me. Throw it again, and I never ever would ever be able to.
You never get me with that curveball again, dude.
Exactly.
It just shows you,
Always bigger fish in the sea. You know what I mean?
Let's hear it. We both know.
I mean, go ahead.
Everyone knows.
There's no mystery. Exactly. So came up through it. In the height of Hulkamania, that was where I was. The reason he maintained to be the best was because he went from being the absolute number one babyface in the business to being the absolute number one heel in the business. Which
isn't that amazing?
It's hard to pick somebody else out who did that, and still maintain that level of like box office draw and maintain that level of like selling merchandise and just because the NWO, when the NWO came out, it was so cool. Like it was like. These guys they're terrible, like they're doing all this shit, and you were supposed to hate them, but you couldn't hate them because they were just so cool.
That's like the Shield, modern day Shield, modern day DX. Was DX a heel?
Yes, they started as heels.
They started as heels, but like they got over because they were doing all this stuff.
They were so cool,
but
they were fucking with Vince left and right.
And then the NWO was like because you had besides Shawn and Brett, you had the two top guys from the WWF coming over. Who were cool, like Razor and Diesel were like as characters were cool, and as their real life personas they were cooler. So again, like when Hogan turned, it made all the sense in the world because now you have the guy to hate. You were gonna hate Hogan, and you could still like Hall and Nash, but Hogan was like that dastardly, dirty heel. He's gonna spray paint your back with the spray can, do anything like crotch shot you, cheek to win, hit you with like a brass knuckles, do all that stuff. Just the heel, because I mean. the thing about Hogan is he always worked a heel style. He didn't work the babyface style. He would rake your back. He would rake your eyes. He would, kick you down low. He didn't care. He would do anything he needed to do to win. And obviously he's getting on TV going, take your vitamins and say your prayers and train, and that's what's going to make you, do all this stuff.
And do testosterone replacement therapy.
Whoa.
But listen, regardless, to this day,
I'm not singling anybody out. It was the whole industry had a problem with it from the 80s and
well,
90s. Look at we lost Warrior, his heart blew up. We lost Eddie, his heart blew up. I mean,
Macho Man.
Macho Man's heart blew up.
The list goes on for. I mean, it's amazing that Hogan is
Chris
still alive.
Candido, I'm pretty sure, got pneumonia that was from steroid.
Too much steroids. Yeah. The thing about Hogan, though, was that the reason Hogan's still alive is because in '93, when they had the steroid trial, he was the face of wrestling. All these other guys were big stars, but they weren't the face. Like like I was saying, WWF is like the name brand. Hogan, I'm gonna watch Hulk Hogan. Like he had a cartoon on Saturday mornings. I mean, he was the face on the lunchbox, the face on the T-shirt, the #1 action figure. I mean, he was it. You know what I mean? And it was hard not to get swallowed up in that.
I mean, for those younger people who may be listening, like it's everything Cena was from 2006 to 2000.
But bigger than that.
But that's what bigger, like way bigger, tenfold.
You watched any WWE event that you watch it to see what Hogan was going to do. It didn't matter, It didn't matter, if you were going to have like this 5-star Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels match on the undercard, you wanted to get to Hogan. You know what I mean? No matter what even Savage and Steamboat was the match at WrestleMania, but you were still there for Hulk and Andre. You know what I mean?
Right.
100%.
So that's why it's, got to be the #1 spot.
No, I get it.
I still pop for. I mean, Hogan comes on TV now. I still pop. As a almost 40-year-old man, like it's.
I mean, when we were at Dynamite, Emily's friend was like, they were the three of them were like in tears laughing during Judas when Adam Cole came out. Because the reactions, like all three, they said it was like one brain.
Yep.
Watching the three of us was like watching one brain operate our body.
Yep.
When Cole came out, and
it was crazy.
Yeah, dude, insane. But like those are the moments that you live for,
right?
At a pro wrestling show.
Yeah, of course. I mean,
we're running. We're almost at 2.5 hours, so we should probably get to wrapping, and then
let's wrap it.
We can move on for. Right now, we're looking to do this every month. When we get the new computer, we can move on to weekly.
Okay.
At that point, because as long as we're ready to go.
Sure.
Because once I have the computer down here, I could edit all the shit at my own speed, and we're not infringing on other projects we got going on at Tiger Pack.
Well, do you want to talk about any current stuff, or you want to just leave?
I just want to cut it now because we're like, dude, at this we're losing people after 2 hours anyway.
Sure. It's fine. Cut it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we will work on formats for regular shows. This was our first show. To get everybody to know where we're at in our wrestling fandom. We're gonna cover a lot of WWE. We're gonna cover a lot of AEW, a little bit of New Japan, Ring of Honor. We'll see what happens with them, and then I think we'll do a little bit touching on the smaller promotions too. But
you don't have a Meltzer account, do you?
You guys have a WON, no.
Oh, or like a Torch account or anything?
Nope.
I should look into that. One of us should probably get that just to have some sort of a basis to.
Yeah.
I mean, I listen to a million of the podcasts. I mean, I listen to all Conrad Thompson. I mean, most of the Conrad Thompson ones I listen to. I've been listening to Flair's new podcast.
And you listen to Cornette too, right?
I listen to Cornette. And they all cover current stuff.
The only one I listen to is Jericho.
Okay.
And Jericho's not always wrestling.
Yeah,
Jericho's a great interview.
Yeah, Jericho's all over though. Yeah.
I mean, Cornette is good but I mean, you get Cornette's perspective, which is like he shits on everything that's current.
Yeah, well, anything that he didn't have a hand in. Right. That's why I don't really fuck with Cornette.
No, he likes Bryan. He likes Punk. He likes there's like
he likes anything that Vince probably hates.
Yes. Well,
he's like a contrarian, dude.
He likes wrestling. He likes pure. He wants it to be freaking Karl Gotch and Dick the Bruiser in a 5-star. They're gonna put
Masters of the Mat match.
Yeah, they're gonna put each other in a headlock for 25 minutes.
Yeah, we want to see a lot of inside cradle win.
That's but he also he was very high on because I listened to like a lot of his AEW reviews. Because he shits on the Bucks. Like I mean,
of course he does. Their psychology is terrible. Any purist should shit on the Bucks.
He calls them the Hardly Boys. I mean, for entertainment purposes, his podcast is one of the funniest out there because like I honestly believe 90% of it is him being a character, not him being
Real.
Yeah.
I think that's who he is.
It's just he's a heel, you know.
I think he's just accentuating who he really is.
But he like you know, he'll talk about he'll wax poetic about anything CM Punk does. Like, oh, this guy's the best, his promos and his in-ring work and blah blah blah. You know. So for his perspective is interesting. And the guy that he does it with fucking I can't remember. Brian Last. He's a fucking piece of shit.
Fucking putting people on blast, episode 1. All right, Anthony, you got anything else to say on the way out?
No, we're gonna do. Well, I was thinking we could do some current stuff. A couple. What about a couple what if stuff? What if? I think that would be interesting.
I'm down with doing some.
What if the Shield never broke
just
up?
because it's fresh, we should just quick bring up that Punk and MJF.
Yeah, we'll do that quick right now, and then we'll get out of here.
All right, let's do it. Go ahead, start us off.
I've been watching wrestling forever, like we discussed, and that Punk MJF promo, it was funny. I sat down with my wife. I said, I'm going to put wrestling on for 10 minutes. I just want to see what's the opening segment. Punk comes out. I'm thinking, he's going to wrestle. What's his name?
Fucking Garcia.
No.
One of the two.
The trainer. What's his name? God.
Cutler.
No. You know, Cody's buddy. What's his name?
Oh, QT.
QT Marshall.
Mhm.
QT Marshall.
QT Marshall.
So he comes out, Punk comes out, and then MJF's music hit, and I immediately was like amped because I'm like, here comes the guy in the ring was the best promo of his day, and here comes the best promo of today, and just like I said to you in our text message, I said wait for a text message. I said, listen, I don't think anybody lost that promo. Usually you come out of promo, Cena was a little bit better than The Miz, or The Miz was a little bit better than Ziggler. This was like. It went back and forth, and it got done, and I was like, there wasn't a clear winner here because they both had zingers. They both told a story, the Punk story of how, I didn't mention you because it was on purpose. It was by design, blah, blah, blah. And then MJF was like, Punk said, oh, you're picking every piece of low-hanging fruit, which MJF did. But as a heel, that's what you want. You want him to pick every piece of low-bearing fruit because obviously Punk is the face and MJF is the heel in this situation.
It was a very old school face versus heel promo, like Mike Battle.
Yeah.
Too. Like very old school tactics for the heel
100%.
and
Yeah.
MJF with. I was cracking up and they shut the fuck up, and he just goes, no.
No, yeah.
No. Just little shit like that makes it great for me.
You want to talk about somebody having the crowd in the palm of his hand? That's MJF.
Heat seeker.
Yes.
I know it's his finishing move. I didn't do that on purpose.
No.
He's a fucking heat seeking
He's
missile,
a heat
dude.
magnet. He knows how to get heat better than anybody maybe in the last 25
And
years.
the Bucks are
Yeah.
heat seekers too.
Not like him.
Not like him,
The Bucks
but-
heat is different. That's cheap heat, where MJF is like legitimate, Like if he could be what the Dudleys were on ECW, I don't know if you guys have ever seen any of the Dudleys ECW promos.
Yeah.
Your mother's a fucking whore and stuff like that they used to say, look at this fat piece of shit in the front row. Like MJF has that type of heat. Like heat to
Well,
where
he said something to someone in the crowd, didn't he?
Oh yeah. He constantly does.
Yeah. Shut up, fatty. I'm talking
Yeah,
now.
he's quick. He's very quick and he's,
So young.
So it's going to be interesting to see how they build this feud going forward. I mean, are they going to just do it on like a Dynamite, or are they going to save it for a pay-per-view?
They should save it for a pay-per-view, and they should
that's
slow
the-
build it.
They should.
This
slow
should be
build
his
it.
first big feud.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, he had Jericho. The Jericho feud was huge with MJF.
No, I'm sorry.
He's
This
talking
should be
about
CM
Punk.
Punk's first big
yes,
feud.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they should build it. I mean, when's the next show? Is it?
Well, it was last night, but I mean, obviously they.
No, I mean the next pay-per-view. Because
well,
they just did Full Gear. The next pay-per-view going to be.
that Battle of the Belts is probably like their.
That's
next,
not really a pay-per-view though.
No, I know, but
It's-
that's like their next. And they got that Winter is Coming, but Winter is Coming, is that going to be?
Is the next pay-per-view Double or Nothing?
Yeah, it's not for a while. I think they usually do it around February, so they got a couple months to really build it. That's
Build
the thing.
this up, make this the thing, and
Double or Nothing's Memorial Day weekend.
I would put MJF
All
over.
out then, or
All Out's the one at the end of August.
okay. So what's the one?
Fighter Fest, I thought was
Oh,
the fourth
Fighter Fest.
pay-per-view.
Okay.
The way I see it is, I'd put MJF over now. Like,
Gotta because Punk needs to go do a job. He hasn't done a job
Yep.
yet. He can't
Mhm.
beat everybody.
He can go. He doesn't have to go over clean though. He can, let me see a little the Dynamite Diamond.
Yeah, I love the
thing,
Dynamite Diamond.
Or like,
I'd put him over, and then I'd have Punk say, "All right, I came here for a magical mystery tour, and I'm done. I'm tired of the bullshit. I'm not gonna be everyone's friend anymore. I realized that the competition here is legit, and now I'm here to claim the number one spot again, and then turn heel, get out of the MJF feud. That's what I would do, and then that'll catapult MJF.
I'd like to see them have a feud for a year, like a year long.
Like wrestle at Full Gear.
But let
next
me
year.
ask you, how much time is like? Do you feel like CM Punk has that time to give a year to this feud,
Yeah.
and then you do?
Yeah,
I don't think he has. Like,
I think Punk has his choice to pick whoever he wants and can do whatever he wants. And if he was smart, he would, because he needs a run. Like, he can't just be doing the Terry Funk, like, I'm going to come in, put this guy, put that guy, put this guy over. He needs to come in, have a program, and MJF is the guy to do it with. And you can culminate it in any kind of a special, a old school cage match, or like you need like,
I quit.
yeah, something.
MJF 24,
24 years old.
Yeah.
and he's probably
And he's
gonna
one of
find
the best guys in the business today.
and he's going to find himself in one of the, well, arguably his biggest feud of his career, right?
Yes.
I mean, we could say Jericho, they had a good one, but
I mean, MJF's the only guy that I could remember, like, pretty much ever, like, going. He does meet and greets any motherfuckers, little kids.
Yeah.
He's doing a spot at Barstool Sports
Well, he's-
Radio, and he got into a fight with one of the interns there. Like, he
Yeah,
cuts promos, and
But he
he's
wouldn't
just
be
a
doing
shit eater
that.
to everybody.
but he wouldn't be doing that with WWE. Like
No,
his
no,
character
no.
only
He'd be-
works at
he'd be-
AEW.
He can't.
Yeah.
He can't do it.
Yeah, right. It doesn't. It's not passable.
Because they'd want to write for him. You know what I mean?
Right. So
Just one more thing currently. I know the weak point of AEW was the women's division, which I think has now become one of the strong points of AEW.
Yeah, a good mix of bringing in some more talent and building the guys they have.
They have like 6 or 8 girls that are as good.
Jade still needs seasoning.
She's got to win that tournament, though.
She needs seasoning. I get the giving her smart Mark Sterling.
She's got to win that tournament. She's got to.
She probably does, but like, I mean, she's a little stiff. She's green as hell, dude. She's crazy physique.
But she's
She
so
can't
impressive.
talk.
She's
She is impressive,
You know.
but she's not ready yet. Like, this is the kind of character and athlete that Vince would push too fast, too soon, too early, and 3 years from now, where's Jade Cargill?
Yeah, but I don't.
They'd be fucking on main event.
I don't
and,
think
like,
the secondary title's a bad spot for her.
You don't think it's too soon?
No, she's too impressive. She's too big. She's too impressive. You know, I can understand if you were going to have her go against like Nyla, and Nyla was going to beat her, or like, Thunder Rosa, or like, one of those top echelon. Because like who like, you got Britt Baker's at the top of the food chain, but then you got Thunder,
Ty Conti, Thunder
Toaster
Rosa.
under Ty Conti, and
Ruby Soho is very good in the ring.
yes.
I love Chris.
yeah, Ruby
Statlander.
Soho is a while away though from getting that title.
Well, who are they going to put over? Statlander or Ruby, and then who are they putting over? Thunder Rosa or Jade? You know what I mean?
I would bet you that I bet you Thunder Rosa will go over, and there'll be some sort of fuckery involved to keep Jade looking strong. That would be my if I was booking it, because Thunder Rosa's hot, and you want to catch that fire
Like
when you
quick,
can.
like a quick roll up or something like that.
Yeah, like a quick roll up, or like somebody else, Britt comes out, or somebody comes out.
Yeah, well,
and
Britt has no business being in
that's
those.
why it wouldn't be Britt, but somebody like maybe Mark Sterling gets involved with something, like he's yelling at her, and then it's a quick roll up, and we
'Cause-
grab the tights, whatever it is.
'Cause,
But
like,
Thunder Rose is so over right now.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, she gets huge pops when she comes out.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
She lit up she did the first match at Dark when we were
Oh,
there,
it's so
and lit
loud.
up the fucking crowd.
Yeah. I mean, I think Ty's over too. It just,
Ty's over. She's just not really much of a talker right now.
no. And like I think what's her name? Ty's friend, Dark Order, Anna Jay. I think she needs a lot of seasoning also.
Yeah, but she's in a good spot where she's.
They have a ton of women. They probably have a bigger. Well,
How about Serena Deeb? We didn't even talk about
Serena Deeb is great.
Yeah.
What about the really athletic, really jacked up black girl, like Big Swole?
yeah.
Where's she been,
Yeah.
dude?
Is she even doing dark matches?
I don't
or-
know, but she's super great in the ring, and she can talk. She's a character you can get behind. I like Big Swole a lot.
There's a lot of that like original AEW talent that's kind of got pushed to the side now with all that.
Well, a lot of
influx.
people couldn't really make it during COVID. Like a lot of the people that,
Well, like Rio has had travel issues.
like the New Yorkers, like Statlander, she tore her ACL, but even after she came back from surgery, like the New Yorkers and the people from California weren't there a lot during COVID because
Right.
of the New York deal.
just the
and
Bucks,
then-
really, right?
There were a lot of people who just kind of came down and stayed in like the Florida, Georgia area and
Right.
were just worked. So like they were MVPs for them. Like Darby Allin was an
Yeah.
MVP of the COVID era for them.
Now, obviously MJF is like the choice for all of us, but who is that next of the next four? Say Britt, we'll put Britt, Darby, Jungle Boy,
Sammy Guevara.
You think Sammy's the next?
Sammy Guevara is a rock star, dude.
You think he's gonna stay healthy?
Yes. If Seth Rollins could have stayed pretty much healthy for the last 10 years, Sammy can stay healthy.
Well, Sammy's
not as dangerous as Seth is.
Yes,
or as Seth was.
Yeah.
I can't really speak too much of Seth's current work.
Seth shouldn't be picking up Kane and trying to do buckle bombs. I mean, that was. That's the issue.
That was your first mistake right there.
Yeah.
But Seth is stronger than Sammy Guevara.
Yeah, but Sammy's only 26.
I'm just saying he's in better shape. He's like that. I know CrossFit, but he's in.
Yeah, but he
know
needs.
What I mean? He can throw. He could throw Kane
in order to stay in Vince McMahon's main event picture. You need to be big. So he needed to get as big as he could have for his frame. Right. Sammy doesn't need to get big.
Sammy is crazy athletic, and then he can talk. I mean,
he can talk. He's crazy athletic. He can wrestle though too. Like take the whatever it is, the 540 or whatever he does, the 720 senton, and this Tobe Suicidas and all that shit out of it. He's a good storyteller, good worker, good wrestler. And putting him in the inner circle and having Jericho carry him along, I think, was poetic in a way. Because he reminds you a lot like a young Jericho. I mean, we said it's Styles.
Sure.
But, young Jericho, young Shawn, that kind of a deal.
I think a lot of the guys need to realize, like Bobby Fish, I was telling you before, Bobby Fish finished off a match on Rampage this week with a avalanche Falcon Arrow from the top rope. Looked impressive. Back in the day, it would have been a hospital angle. All these guys like the Bucks, the Lucha Brothers, stop making it a car crash. Use those spots. Like, stop doing the outside the ring apron bump. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, because then it becomes...
It can't be like a weekly thing.
Yeah, then it becomes, I've seen this a million times.
This became a problem when Owens and Sami Zayn had the same match for the fourth time in a row on WWE TV. Mm-hmm. They had it twice on NXT, then they had it once at a WWE pay-per-view, and then they had it again on Raw.
Right. And
it's almost the same match every time. And sick match, 6 spots. But it's like, I don't need to see Kevin Owens powerbomb Sami Zayn onto the ring apron for the 4th time now.
No. Well, like the Bucks, like they have to do a suicide dive with 16 people outside the ring every single time.
It's not just the Bucks, though.
Right. No. I mean, I'm just...
It's every match at AEW.
No, it is every match. Like the Lucha Brothers,
Well, the Destroyer. Stop throwing the Destroyer around like it's a fucking hip toss. Petey Williams should be so mad, dude.
I know. That's an impressive move.
Yeah, and it's like not like Gold Dust, Dustin, great that you can do it. Don't do it. The Code Red, whatever you want to call it, don't do it, dude. It's not for you.
You know who killed it for me? The Destroyer was Ricky Morton.
Who's that?
Ricky Morton is one of the greatest workers of all time, part of the Rock and Roll Express, 80s, big time 80s guy. When he at 60 whatever years old got in the ring, and I forget what pay-per-view was, he did a Canadian Destroyer, and I was just like, what the fuck are they doing? Like 60-something-year-old dude doing.
Did he do the Canadian Destroyer, or did he do like the Sunset Flip?
The Sunset Flip.
Fucking John Cena version.
Not the Canadian Destroyer, but like the John Cena version.
Yeah.
And it's just like
the Code Red, I think they call it.
Right. It's like they a guy like that should not be doing that.
No.
So I mean, I don't mean to be dragging on.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
But no,
it's all good stuff.
Getting long.
Yeah, it's getting long. We're pushing 3 hours. Yeah, so that's our show. Welcome to our new show. We're going to have fun doing this, and I hope you guys have fun coming along for the ride.
Oh, a blast. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. It's my pro wrestling guy.
Yeah.
It's my guy on pro wrestling, man. Like I said, I wanted to do sports gambling. My guy was Anthony Allicino. Now I want to do pro wrestling. And my guy is Chris Johanson. He's a big one. So, we'll come back. We'll do way more current stuff, and we'll figure out some gimmicks to make the show fun. Probably about a month from now. So that's our show. Peace out. As always, brought to you by House of Havoc, Tiger Pack Productions, Sachi Di Dinero, and Stay Thirsty Company.